to fill out the paperwork. They don't have an address. Without an address, they can't get the assistance that they need. So thankfully, with Kitty Miller, and she runs the South Putnam, our South Putnam Christian Center. I've been in discussions with her, and we did find that we have, for any of you that know this, that we have with the Swanee River area, it's the Health Education Center. We have Tamia Robinson, and she is at the library every Wednesday from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And she is such a delight, and she is non-judgmental. She's just a breath of fresh air, but she is there to assist residents and those that are homeless and those that are not homeless but still need an advocate. She's there to help them fill out all their government paperwork that they need. And that's very much needed in our community. She's also we're working with Kitty. She went Tuesday and she sat there at the Christian Service Center. She's new to this, but she sat there and she was very successful on Tuesday. And we're looking to how we can come up with an address, some sort of a box that they can have so that they can actually get some mail and have an address that they can be able to use. So she's doing some research for us on that. We are always gonna have that. You're always gonna have the homelessness, but I think anything that we can do, and I think for all of the volunteers, and I know myself, it really, when you sit down and you talk to a lot of them, they all have great stories.
Yeah.
They have incredible stories, so.
Yeah, I have a request, for any services that are available, like the time at the library and at the Christian Service Center, if we could put printed copies of that information on our doors so that people who don't have a phone can see it and obviously distribute it somewhere else, that would be great. And as Commissioner Banks mentioned, if there is a very distressing bill in the legislature, it's House Bill 1365. I don't know the number of the Senate bill, but they're both moving and the governor has endorsed it, and it does prohibit public camping and sleeping, and it also puts some, at this point, some liability on municipalities. So we had to stay informed about that.
It does if we don't enforce it, that's my understanding. If we don't enforce it, then the residents can.
It's very distressing, and I'm afraid that it's going to cause a lot of difficulty.
We had this discussion this morning in our mayor's meeting, and we're seeing a little bit more traffic here. A lot of it's probably because St. Augustine, I don't know how many of you have been down 207 lately, but a lot of that area, they're developing. And so they're finding that a lot of people that have been over there now are kind of migrating this way. And, so it's definitely.
The bill is in process. I was very concerned because the way it was originally written, there was considerable responsibility placed on every municipality. Now there have been exemptions for, what is it? Not for economically disadvantaged counties. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
Rural and economic disadvantaged counties.
So there's some exemptions for some financial responsibilities. Apparently there's still a liability. And I think here for years, we have seen people moving from larger urban areas to rural areas, just to camp and to hope for a better place to stay. So I think it's going to continue to be a problem.
What was the count?
Question.
Somebody from the audience wants to know what the count was.
Do you want to tell us how many that she got?
The different teams input data into tablets. That data, those tablets are taken to Gainesville to be tabulated. I just asked people, the different teams, how many they thought they counted. This data has to be deduplicated, but I will tell you on one day, in the city of Crescent City, volunteers made contact with 70 people in Crescent City alone. I don't know that this will be the final numbers. They also counted in Pomona Park in the Satsuma area and a little bit outside of town. I don't know, that's how many they thought they made contact with. What the official numbers will be available sometime in April.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we're gonna move on to our minutes. It looks like we have, some corrections from Commissioner Vito. Some of these are, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look those over. So before we go into, any discussion, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes with corrections.
I second
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second.
And there was something I forgot to write down, and I don't know if this is needed. But in the listing of the commissioners and staff who are present, the clerk is not listed, but the clerk doesn't sign the minutes. Should the clerk include herself in the staff present?
I mean,
Did I miss it? Is it
no,
like-
it's not in there, I never put myself in there.
But now that she is,
But now that I have my own seat, I should be putting myself in there, you are correct.
Right, but I just noticed she's not here. But she is here.
Yeah, the corrections on page 2, you had this question about the audit.
Yes.
And am I not correct in assuming that we just had the presentation of the city audit?
We did.
But not the CRA audit? It was given to us, but we didn't actually have a presentation on it, correct? Did we accept it?
I thought we did, I thought it was the full, I thought it was the full audit.
Yeah.
The full audit, and we voted on the full audit, yeah.
But not
It
this
was
year.
the audit.
Was it? The CRA has a separate. audit.
Right.
Okay.
I think we did see it already, I'm not mistaken.
We'll have to go back and check
Well,
on that.
that's one of the things.
We'll have to go back, and if not, then we definitely need to, I thought that we did that we did both of them. But if not, then we're gonna have to,
Right, so that's not a revision unless the clerk checks it.
right. I had there were some typos, just a few typos,
I didn't get them.
and some different, but a lot of them you did get. So if there's any more discussion, we currently have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, so moved. Okay, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna open up public comment. This is on topics that are not already listed on the agenda, and they will be heard at this time. The speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Looks like we've got to start with Pete Ackerman. Please come forward. State your name and your address if you please.
My name is Pete Ackerman, 278 Union Camp Road. And my issue tonight is truth in advertising. And I noticed on the webpage, we've got a great description of Crescent City, which I'm going to read. And I will add my proposed edit at the end. Very short. We are uncomplicated, but hardly unforgettable. There is a serenity and peacefulness here that is like no other. It is the ripples of water and cranes flying along the shore. Here comes the edit. You ready? That's ready?
Yes.
Okay. It is the thunder of outlaw drag boats speeding on the lake, keeping residents and visitors alike from fishing, canoeing, and kayaking during a long anticipated Memorial Day weekend, scaring the bejesus out of creatures, humans walking, eagles flying, or manatees swimming, with noise so loud the city noise ordinance will be rescinded. Well, that's the edit that you might want to consider.
Thank you.
For truth in advertising.
Thank
And water protection.
Okay, our next speaker is Dan Dodge.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Dan Dodge, 218 South Main Street. It's a pleasure to be with you again. And I want to bring up two things. That how proud we are that at the last commission meeting, that the commission voted to move forward in doing something about animal control, which is, of course, has been a large issue. We know the complications of it. So we're looking forward to hearing when the workshop meeting may take place.
It's been
Because,
set.
pardon?
It's been
It
set.
was scheduled at the last meeting for the 19th,
February
February
19th.
19th.
Oh, it's the 19th? Oh, great, thank you. Well done. And then the other is the middle school property. And after consideration, the commission abandoned the idea of possibly putting a city hall next to the fire station, but instead looking at the Miller School property. And my question tonight is, and thank you for that. My question tonight, has there been any movement or progress in working towards that effort today?
Charles has been working on that and he's looking at different options, so it's quite possible we'll have to have a workshop.
Oh, great, we'll look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Holland, it looks like you might have scratched out public comment, you just want number 9? Okay. Ms. Wolf, Larry Wolf?
Hi, you know me as Blair, but my name is Andrea Wolf, 325 North Park Street. I just wanted to propose an idea for maybe something for the youth of our community. I'm the admin of Crescent City, Florida Moms Group, and we have over 400 members. And I know most of the moms in our group, they travel out of our town for events because there's not much here for the kids. And I'm just speaking on behalf of the group. We'd like to see maybe some updated playground equipment at Lake Stella. I know there's rusty nails poking out of the rock wall there. Maybe like a biohazard bin on the side of the bathroom up high where the kids can't reach, because I found the needle myself in the sand there. I don't know if we could do something like a splash park or a roller rink or, anything, but we have a lot of youth in our town and there's not anything to keep them preoccupied here. I mean, I think that would even help with the drug usage, if there's a better outlet for them. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We're getting more and more children moving into the community too. It's good to see that,
Yeah,
the young families. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
thank you.
Very request. Yes. For a request like that, and great ideas, maybe if, Andrea could put it in writing and send it to all of us, so, and with anything else that she might have. Because it sounds important.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Yeah, now, she brought out a very good point. Our young people in Crescent City, they don't have no activity at all. We need some leaders to step up. Some of the younger people to step up and formulate something so that the young people will be interested. We got a lot of them just staying horseshoe, not getting involved. Cause, okay, we spent over $100 and some thousand with lights out there in the park out there. Grass growing up in the baseball field. They were gonna do kickball, they were gonna have the little football league. Ain't none of that step forward yet. So we need to help us some citizens to spearhead some of this.
I think today, I think today's world, the kids' interests and what they want to do is very, very much different. Traveling around, a lot of the old softball, baseball type fields have been converted now to soccer fields. Kids really seem to be into soccer. I think for parents, soccer is much cheaper, okay, than even baseball or football to manage. I'm not gonna say it's any safer, but it's certainly safer than football. And, so I think, the splash parks I think are a great idea. But then again, I read things on that as far as, the water being contaminated, all kinds of different things, problems with that. But I think that we have to open our box of thinking on how and what children do today, to come up and formulate what we need to move forward with that.
If you'd like to come forward, I'll recognize you, speak.
Virginia Delgado Oakwood, I own Crescent City Kennel, and I have a suggestion. We have a UF extension in East Palaca, and what about developing a 4-H club? And they will have a lot of resources for you, elementary, middle, and high school. And it is all free. They have all the resources, coloring books, videos, etc. And I would welcome any children to come to the kennel and pet all the kittens and cats and dogs that we have as well. Thank you.
And 4-H is, I know they have a pretty strong 4-H up in East Palaca.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else, if you'd like to come forward? I don't have something filled out for you, but please, by all means, step forward.
That's because I thought of something while you were making an announcement. Just after the fact, Nancy Taylor, 610 North Summit. I just want to say that on Wednesday, February 14th, the library is hosting a discussion group for One Book, One Putnam. The book this year is A Land Remembered by Patrick Smith. It's about old Florida. It's at noontime at the library. It's interesting. People come. You don't have to read the book. Just come and talk and listen about it and everything. But I just wanted to mention that was next Wednesday as well.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank
what
you very much. And I don't know if any of you, probably, especially Floridians, you read A Land Remembered, you should read it. So, with that, anybody else? Yes, sir?
George Miller, 100 Lakeshore Drive, Crescent City. I was really kind of surprised that there were not any financials for the month. And I'm sure you're working on that, and hopefully next month we'll have some financials, but it's in the city charter, and somebody needs to be held responsible. And there's some people we could probably bring in to help put that together, but it just really needs to be 2 pieces of paper. That needs to be 100 pieces of papers. Just an income statement showing on a monthly basis that the city has more money coming in than going out. And a balance sheet shows assets versus liabilities. And some of us remember, I think there's 3 people I know that have been around here a long time. Remember 20 plus years ago, the city was on the brink of insolvency for whatever reasons. And they got a new city manager, and they corrected it overnight by doubling all the utilities, which was not fair to the taxpayers at all. So if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And before the commission makes any financial decisions, we really need to know where you stand financially.
Thank you.
So I hope next month and subsequent months, they follow the city charter and make somebody in administration responsible and tell them that their job depends upon it. I know that's pretty harsh, but in the real world, that's the way it works. Okay.
And I'll take, I'll take blame for that there's no financial report. I'm not gonna take blame, there's no financial report, but I will take blame. I should have announced that. I have it in my notes. Charles, when he left, of course, everybody knows that we're in the process of trying to get a new financial director. And, we all know also, please, if you've been following our meetings, that we are very solvent, that we don't have an issue there, but he said when he left that, the financial report would be ready next month. He's working with the CPA on that right now. And it will be ready next month, and I failed to say that, I apologize. Okay, with that, do we have anybody else coming forward? Okay. Then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn it over, I'm gonna close public comment, and I'm gonna turn it over to, Captain Esther. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
After I get done with this presentation, Colonel Wells is gonna give our yearly report. This is gonna be pretty fast, so once again, we had a pretty good month. Moving into, our first, event here was a theft that was on North Summit Street. Someone took if you remember the white lights that were hanging on the fence out here, somebody decided to take the string of white lights. So unfortunately, we did have video of this. The video clarity was poor. We couldn't tell who it was, just like we could tell it was a person. So other than that, that's all we have on the Christmas lights. Any questions?
Didn't they take the whole tree?
No, ma'am, they took the lights. They were along the fence, so that was the only ones that took.
There was a lengthy discussion by the pastor,
Yes,
posted
ma'am.
on social media,
So the traffic crash, we had one here right here at Summit and Central. Vehicle was turning Central Avenue and turning to pass another vehicle that was traveling on Summit Street. They collided. No injuries in that were reported in that one. Any questions on traffic crashes?
Northbound or southbound?
So from what I understand, the vehicle was turning left, which is right here, turning left onto Central, and the other vehicle was coming northbound. Here's the information you asked for, Commissioner Laurie, the 6-month comparisons, month to month. As you can see, the actual total calls for service were 134, with 39 of those being traffic stops, 8 suspicious persons vehicles, and 8 of those reports were generated in Crescent City. Here's the totals. Looks like we're down about 200%, going from 3 total crimes to 1. So it's a win. Good start. And that's all I have. And if you don't have any questions, I'll turn it over to Colonel Wells.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do you have any questions? Captain? Colonel? Welcome.
Captain Ussery switched me out to a different presentation. This will be an annual presentation. I'll get through it quickly and then entertain any questions that we have, as we have completed year 2023, believe it or not.
And this is the report, this is actually the information that goes to Tallahassee, correct?
Yes, this will be what we'll report on behalf of the city of Crescent City to Tallahassee through. What is new this year with the FBI's change, we were actually one of the agencies selected to experiment with it in 2022, but in 2023, all the agencies are required. It's changed the format. It's called NIBRS now. People used to call it UCR, for Uniform Crime Reporting. It's now called NIBRS, which is National Incident-Based Reporting System. So that's what you will see here. It didn't change a lot, but I can kind of, as we go through, explain to you a couple of things that affect it. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't bring my glasses, so.
It's all right.
You need mine?
No, I got it.
You want mine?
Very good.
Put on the left side of the clip, we're gonna open your glass.
This one here. Okay, that advanced my spot. Very good. Well, again, Commissioners, Madam Mayor, opportunity to be here tonight is a good one to have, and it's honored to be here. I want to, begin by, you're going to see some pretty beneficial things here, and some pretty good numbers that I think the city of Crescent City, but I've also given you some information on the county as a total. I think you should be aware of what's going on there as well. This is solely due to a phenomenal team of men and women that serve the sheriff's office every day. And of course, specifically, you guys are most familiar with down here, our district commander, Captain Usry, and our deputy district commander, Lieutenant McHugh behind me. They are doing a phenomenal job here, and they have one thing that no two other leaders in Crescent City and in the county have, is a contract, law enforcement. So good job on them and all the guys that work down here. So I'm going to begin by giving you some county-wide numbers. I think that we want to make sure that all of our citizens are aware of this. Some of our citizens here may not live inside the city, and it's also just good to give you an overall perspective. So this is what countywide numbers look like from 22 to 23. Our only increase was homicide. Of course, that was horrible, 300%, but we understand the county went from 1 to 4 over the year. Sex crimes, the county went from 12 to 9, so that's sodomy, sexual batteries, any type of forcible sex crime from 12 to 9, 25% reduction. Robbery from 4 to 3, that's taking by force, threat of force, violence, 4 to 3, down 25% for entire Putnam County. Aggravated assault to 37 from 74, down about half. Domestic violence, 284 to 186, down 34.5%. That is not a specific reported NIBRS requested. That is domestic violence numbers show up in either batteries or assaults. That's just a classification. It is something we focus very heavily on at the sheriff's office, so I'm always sure to share what our domestic violence is doing year after year. Burglary for the entire county went down 1.09%. However, burglary over the last 5 years or so has continued a steady decrease. It's down about 61%. There were times when we had 3 districts in the county. There were years, I'm sure that Captain Usry can remember, when he and I were the district commander of Central District, where we had that many burglaries in one district in a year. So it's certainly a significant decrease. Theft is down to 263 from 276. Vehicle theft down from 101 in 2022 to 60 in 2023. Total violent crime down 41.8%. Total nonviolent down 11.2% for a total reduction for Putnam County as in its entirety, 16.01. Now, I need to make a clarification. I say Putnam County in its entirety. Those are for the unincorporated areas or any municipality that we contract law enforcement for, or they don't have a police department. So we report for Crescent City as a contracted, which to the FBI is the same as you having a police department. An example of one that does not have one, this municipality, would be Pomona Park. So just how that works. So you'll see your number reported separately. Again, here's those historical views. I kind of alluded to some of that, where we were from 22 to 23 as we look at some of these things, these historical views as how much they have fallen from 2016 to last year. So
that doesn't include Blacko, correct?
It does not include the city limits. We don't have their numbers yet. When the final report goes in, when they submit their numbers, it takes the state usually about 6 months to produce those and to approve our numbers. We were held up a little bit last year because the state pulled us for review because of the significant drops. So they wanted to verify records, files, a lot of things. And so they then confirmed those drops. But we had such a significant drop from 20 in the last couple of years to 22 that we were audited on ours. So which is something we totally expect happens all the time. So anyway, just you can kind of see the historical there when you see that total crime since 2016 is down 52.2% in the county, and nonviolent crime and violent crimes dropped as well. The county as a whole in 2016, for every 100,000 people, there was 3,114 crimes. Of course, you know, that's a natural figure. We don't even have 100,000 in Putnam County, but that's the FBI's ratio. And then in 2022, there was 1,608 crimes per every 100,000, which is your crime rate for the county. And so the crime rate itself is down 48.3%. So you're 48.3% less likely to be victim of crime now than you were in 2016. So here's how we compare to some of the surrounding counties. We are 16.7 for 17.6% lower than the state of Florida as a whole. This is the county. We are 6.7% lower than Volusia County's crime rate, 13.2% lower than Bradford's, 21.8% lower than Marion, 49.9% lower than Alachua, but we still remain higher than 3 of our contiguous counties, being Clay, Flagler, and St. John's. If our trend holds for both counties, if we see what we see this year, as we've seen in the last 5 years for Putnam and Clay, we'll drop lower than Clay this year. So we'll just have to see how those trends hold. Again, it'll be 6 months before we know that. So I also wanted to talk about some of the significant requirements inside the sheriff's office over the last year, just to are some of the significant achievements, just kind of let you know what your sheriff's office has been up to. And I'll breeze through these. 100% of all Florida model jail inspections have resulted in exceptional ratings with no findings, so we are a Florida model jail. We were nationally recognized this past year for our trauma-informed investigation and interview procedures. And a couple of our folks traveled to Chicago to speak to other law enforcement agencies from across the country about how we're doing this. We were again nationally recognized for school safety programs and protocols. We traveled to New Orleans to speak to other law enforcement agencies about our successes in school safety. We received a statewide award for excellence in risk management. We were awarded reaccreditation through the state body. Law enforcement accreditation in Florida is not required, it's optional. We do subject ourselves to that scrutiny, and we were re-awarded this year with accreditation with Excelsior status. We were awarded by the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence for excellence in domestic violence investigation and advocacy. National recognition for excellence in sexual violence investigations. Multiple deputy sheriffs and detectives for organizations across the state have been recognized for excellence in duty. We were recognized by the United States Army as a preferred employer for servicemen and women departing the Army this past year. The U.S. Department of Justice identified our crime control strategy. You probably heard Captain Usry mention the word stratified to you a few times. That's a very unique, forward-thinking crime control strategy that encompasses all those crime control strategies that you've ever heard of. Community-oriented policing, status-based, intelligence-led policing, all of those combined in one is stratified. There's only a few across the state of Florida that are practicing it. So this year we submitted to the Department of Justice, wanted their opinion on it as what the success was looking like, and they deemed it as one of the most innovative and promising strategies recently developed, and didn't really expect it. Gave us $250,000 to further its development and share it with other agencies. And we are now assisting Clay County in adopting this policy. So we were, these may not seem like much, but that one from the Army and this one I'm fixing to mention are probably the most important to me. We were recognized as a patriotic employer by the United States Coast Guard and United States Army, and that is them telling us that we are excellent in supporting our members and their families while they are deployed. And then finally, recently I had an opportunity with Major Sorensen, who's our Director of Corrections, to testify in front of the Jacksonville City Council about the successful inmate programs that go on inside our jail as Jacksonville JSO is looking at changing the way they think about corrections. So just a minute to brag. I appreciate the indulgence. I want to brag on our folks for a minute. I can't help it. So let me tell you what we're looking at, what we expect to finish this year. So we are critical incident stress management and mental wellness programs are increasing significantly inside the agency as we realize that this job takes a toll on our folks. In order for them to continue to do the great job they do, to continue to be great moms and dads and brothers and sisters, we have to make sure that we take care of them. And adopting that philosophy is it's okay not to be okay, and the death you see and the horrible way people treat children and the way people victimize each other over the years, it takes a toll. I tell our folks all the time that, listen, it's okay. And, we take care of ourselves physically, and we got to take care of ourselves here. There's one call that I'm not going into details on. There's one call I had several years ago that I still dream about. And that's just one call. Anyway, we have also converted and will continue to develop a full-time training section. So instead of now piecemealing our training together for our deputies, we have a whole section in the sheriff's office that is dedicated to nothing but training to keep our deputies trained. We are partnering with Florida SAFE, which is a fentanyl opioid interdiction programs throughout the state of Florida. We were selected and approved to be a partner for them in that. Obviously, we talk about robust inmate restorative programs. So again, I don't want to take a lot of time, but I want to kind of share a little information on this. It is well known, I know Commissioner DeVito and I've had some conversation about this. The overwhelming majority of the folks that are inside the Putnam County Jail are not there because they're criminals at heart or evil. They're there because of circumstances. They're there because of substance use disorder. They're there because of mental health issues. They're there because they had to make a decision because they couldn't pay a traffic fine, so their license is suspended. They had to decide whether or not to feed their children or drive on a suspended license. So what we are learning is that, and it costs a lot of money. It costs them sometimes, depending upon their health care, anywhere from $75 to $100, $200, $300 a day per inmate. And when you consider we have an average daily inmate population of about 350 times 365, it's multi-millions of dollars for taxpayers. So if whatever reason, because an inmate finds a job, gets a driver's license back, finds sobriety, comes to terms with their mental health, learns to be a better parent, whatever the case is, we can keep them out of the jail is what we're trying to do. So we've launched some very robust programs there, and those are long-term projects. We've got multiple community partner employers to include the City of Palatka, County of Putnam, Camarco Products, Beck Automotive Group, who are all working with us to tell us what they need out of employees, and they're hiring them right out of our jail when they leave and go to work for them. We are also launching with the new animal control facility. We partnered with the University of Florida, and that is an inmate program for veterinary technicians where they will all be trained to do veterinary technician work. They'll do it inside the animal control facility while they're an inmate, and then we're working with veterinarians and others across this area of Florida to hire them when they leave. Totally switching gears, we've been very proud. We hosted our 5th PAL state boxing tournament this year. So for the 5th year straight, PAL boxers from all over the state of Florida, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas have all traveled here to participate in that. I'll take this as an opportunity just to remind everybody as we talk about our youth that the largest police athletic league program that we manage is right here in Crescent City at the High School. Matter of fact, I think both of y'all were, both of them were at the gym with the kids prior to coming here. We have all kinds of programs that go on there. If you're interested in police athletic league, we even provide transportation. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to any one of us and we can get you in the right direction on that. We continue to work on advanced crisis intervention and de-escalation programs. These are programs that teach our deputy sheriffs how to interact with the community during crisis intervention so that we can de-escalate it, not escalate it. And then this year we've added a preference on that is dealing with veterans who have crisis issues. I'll take another opportunity here. I want everybody to be aware of this. So the state of Florida passed a law this year that allows law enforcement agencies to maintain special persons registries. And these are registries for anybody that voluntarily wants to be on that registry or someone that they are the parent of or have power of attorney over to put them in a registry with us. When they do, they are entered into our computer-aided dispatch system. It gives the deputy sheriff a flag when he's responding or dealing with that person, if this person is in the registry, he or she can then read the registry and it'll tell us anything we need to know. These are triggers. This will make the person act out. This calms them down. This is where they live. This is what they're dealing with. Wow. So that, we know that children with autism, sometimes loud noises, bright lights, any of that kind of stuff can be triggers, but sometimes things like stuffed animals and things like that are common. So the deputy will know, hey, flashing blue lights and sirens are a trigger here. If I raise my voice to this person, that's a trigger here. So that's one of the things that is rolling out for our deputies now, and they will have that information so that they'll be better equipped to calm that situation and not inadvertently aggravate it when they arrive on scene, with the overall goal is making sure that we never use force on somebody as a manifestation of their mental illness. Mental health protocols, we detect same thing we're talking about there. Mental health is an issue, and it is the single biggest issue facing law enforcement today. So we're using co-responders to respond in the field with this, especially for our juveniles that are experiencing mental health issues, engaging things like veterans court and other programs. Here's the biggest long-term project our guys will stand up and cheer about, is we are within months of launching the newest generation available in the world 800 megahertz radio system in Putnam County. Right now, our deputy sheriff, specifically in the southern portion of the county, have significant radio deficit. There are times they are unable to communicate with our communications center at all. So all that will be gone shortly. It's rolling out as we speak. There's towers being built, towers being reinforced, equipment starting to arrive in the county, and we should be on 800 megahertz system. I'm saying June at the latest. Body camera rollout is completely done. All deputy sheriffs in uniform from the rank of sergeants and down, and including the ones in our schools, are in body cameras. We have realized that what we're seeing with growth is traffic crash escalating. Everything that's going down, traffic crashes and traffic homicides are not. So we launched our first full-time traffic enforcement unit this year. We're going to continue to grow that. And then, wrapping this slide up, with some of the money that the Department of Justice awarded us, we formed a full-time crime suppression unit. That's a unit that reacts off of intelligence, that is analyzed to tell them where crime is likely to pop up and where we're seeing it. And those units are specifically deployed with problem-solving techniques into those units. So that's what's going on at the Sheriff's Office as a whole. So let's talk about what's going on in Crescent City, or maybe more accurately, what's not going on in Crescent City. And what's not going on in Crescent City is much crime. So here's how you guys look. This is a comparison from 2019 through 2023. So start with homicide. I always talk about that. Obviously, you've had 3 over those years, but you haven't had any since 2021. So 0 homicides in 2023. Sex crimes, you haven't had one, I don't know how long, but I know for at least the last 5 years, there's not been a forcible sex crime in Crescent City. Robbery, there's been 4 over the 5-year period. You had 2 last year, down to 0 this year. It's a little hard to see, but if you can see that line that's running in there, that's what's called a trend line. So that shows you what your trend is doing in those crimes. Obviously, no trend line there, but there's robbery. Next time I'll take a lesson learned, because I'm still trainable, I'll change the color of that trend line. Because that is tough to see. But no robberies in Crescent City this year. Aggravated battery, that's a steep downward trend line from 8 in 2019 to 1 in 2023. And by the way, that 1 was the shooting at the Kangaroo, which is wrapped up, solved, suspect been arrested in that, and dealing with that through the court system now. Trying to look at adjudication as an adult, that was a juvenile.
He has been arrested, correct?
What's that?
He has
been arrested. Out of the county. Maybe I put an empty slide, I don't know what I was intended with it, but this is the next crime that's mentioned on NIBRS. These are your burglaries. This is entering or remaining in a structure with the intent to commit a crime they're in. Generally, the crime they're in is theft. So you had 3 of those in 2023. Theft is the taking of things, obviously what theft is. It also includes, though, Florida statute calls taking something out of the inside of a vehicle burglary. The federal government says that's not a burglary, that's a theft. So if it was something that somebody entered a vehicle and stole a purse or something like that, that will be reported here, because these are how we report it exactly to the federal government side. So this would include theft from vehicles, out of the bed of trucks or any of that type of stuff. This is vehicle theft, so this is actually how many cars were stolen. How many what the federal government calls cars were stolen, which was 2 in 2023. The federal government says anything that is motorized that can transport a person. So if they steal your rotten lawnmower, I gotta take a vehicle hit on that. So because that's what the federal side calls that, is a vehicle theft. Is anything, even if it's not street legal, if it is intended to be able to move a person around under power, it's a vehicle.
So that would be the motorized bicycles?
Motorized bicycles, it's under motor power, yeah. So motorized bicycles, any of that type of stuff, side-by-side scooters, golf carts, anything along those lines will fall into vehicle theft. So your total property crime, as we wrap up, you had 19 property crimes last year. That would be, like I said, that's the thefts, the burglaries, those things combined. That's a strong trend line down. You had 30 in 2022. Violent crime, you had 1, which is that aggravated assault. Aggravated battery. That would be aggravated battery where the person was shot, and down to 1. So you can see your trend line there. If not, I'll be happy to provide copies of this to you. Overall crime, you had 20. 20 of anything that the federal government would consider a reportable crime last year. That does not include some things such as our deputies are on patrol to do a traffic stop and take drugs off the street. That would be a crime, but it's not reportable. It doesn't go in as an officer generated. Somebody that's arrested for driving on suspended license, other things that go in there. But those type of crimes, DUI arrests, those are not, the FBI does not want that information. That's not what's considered a reportable crime, and they do not contribute to your crime rate. So here is your crime rate. Small cities are figured different. There's what's called a small town rule. So it changes how the computation is done. Instead of it being per every 100,000, it's done per 5,000. And for small cities are obviously always higher. As you can see, the state average is 47.70 because there's not enough people to spread the crime across. That's the US average. The state average is 39, roughly 39. And Crescent City is riding at 11.9 in 2023. So that's where you ride. Even in your highest marked year, which was in 19 that I've done the study on, you were still below that current state and national average, but you are significantly what I would consider a safe place. I went so far to drive to the office every day. My wife killing me for getting her this far away from work. I moved down here. So traffic crashes are holding. They will likely probably bounce and continue as traffic counts continue. We're seeing traffic counts continue everywhere else. I saw a recent traffic count for the corner intersection of 19 and 100. No, it's not in Crescent City. Saw that traffic count as part of some construction of the Wawa that's going on there. It's up 38% in 4 years. 38% more cars coming through that intersection. This is your total law enforcement activity over the year. Just so you know, these are activities. These are everything from traffic stops to welfare checks to calls for service to anything that your deputies are doing. And last year, your deputies did 2,427 law enforcement related activities in Crescent City. And again, that could be because somebody called in and said, can you check on my house when I'm on vacation? That could be a follow-up investigation where there's a detective down here following up on calls. But we did 2,427 activities last year. We did 890 traffic stops in less than 2 square miles last year. That's how that looks. And you can see the trend line on that moving. 890 traffic stops.
Those are just stops, like it doesn't necessarily mean that there was a ticket written or something like that, or.
Oh, no, I did not, and I can get you that data. I didn't research the data as to what action they took. This is where a deputy initiated a traffic stop. They may have made an arrest, gave a written warning, wrote a ticket, or any of that type of stuff. This was where they used a signal code, which is 1050, which is the code for traffic stops. That's all the 1050s that were initiated inside the city limits. Now, I will tell you there's likely more. And here's why, because if they spot the violation in Crescent City, but it crosses the county line before they, or the city limit before they make the stop is always logged under where the deputy physically is at now so that we can get back up there. So some of these violations, there may be additional violations that occurred in the city where we got the vehicle stopped outside. So,
or vice versa.
Yeah, so what's that?
Or vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Correct, there could be some that are coming in that direction. So, good point, Commissioner, it may even itself out. Anyway, questions on the year? Actually, let me ask you for one indulgence here. I want to clarify something here. It has come up several times, but I can't think of a better way to clarify this. So there's been some question over either whether it was on some miscommunication when this whole thing started going down the road, or however it came about with the sheriff's office going down the road to providing your law enforcement. When we talked about dedicated deputy sheriffs inside the city limits, the intent was always that there would always be a deputy sheriff who's assigned inside the city limits. It was never the intent, nor would I ever agree to saying that those are the same deputy sheriffs day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. Here's why. They don't get any experience. They won't be good deputy sheriffs. There's just not enough for them to do. They work out. If they get a sex crime tomorrow, If we were operating that procedure, none of your deputy sheriffs would have ever even been to one. So what we do is we roll them in and out. There's always one dedicated here that they can serve down here. It's at the district commander's discretion. He may assign them to Crescent City for a month. He may assign them for 3 months. And then he rolls them to another South District zone, and then he rolls them back in. That gets them experience. So if you have a sex crime that occurred, or your business gets robbed, would you like that deputy sheriff that's got that experience in that? So that's exactly why I don't agree of putting them down here. It's the same situation that all small police departments have, because they don't have the capability to be well-rounded and handle things, because they simply don't get them. Additionally, those deputy sheriffs assigned in a particular situation like that, where they never get this experience, have no career mobility. They will never get promoted. They will never become detectives. They will never be able to move anywhere, because you can't become a detective if you've never worked a crime, or if you worked 2 crimes in the last year. So in order to keep our deputy sheriffs well-rounded, keep our funneling into promoted ranks, to keep our funnels running into criminal investigation bureau, drug vice units, crime suppression, all those places, they've got to be well-rounded, and it's a better service to the city. So what I guarantee you is there is 1 or 2 dedicated deputy sheriffs in Crescent City every day. It may not be the same one for months and months and months at a time, but it's the same core group, because they all come out of the East District. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry, could I just share something with Carl? I understand this is the first time that the sheriff's department has had a contract with the city. But there was, I think the concept of what the service would be has evolved.
Okay.
And I clearly remember, and it is on tape, and I know that many people who come to these meetings clearly remember, that we were told we would have a cadre of identifiable deputies. You even came one meeting and said we would be meeting those deputies when we all had them on board.
Mm-hmm.
And you even talked about the fact that this would give the opportunity perhaps for community policing. So I understand the point, that you decided that professionally it's not a good idea to dedicate specific people here. But when we renewed the contract or discussed the contract, I've talked to a couple of other cities that have a contract with the sheriff, and they have a modified arrangement where there are certain deputies that stay for a certain period of time. I don't know if we were able to do that, but I think that, although it's an evolving concept, you specifically talked about dedicated officers being the same people. And I understand if that isn't a good idea, but there's a reason that people got that impression that that's what's going to happen.
So you do have, like I say, you do have the same group of folks that are here constantly, not the same 5 all the time. And that was never the intent. It can't work that one. To be quite honest with you, I wouldn't get a deputy sheriff to agree to do that.
No, I understand the point, but we need to have some clarification on that, and I think people would like to know maybe who are the deputies who are in South County or whatever. I mean, I think this, I don't want to belabor the point now, but I think this merits some further discussion.
So
Everybody's clear.
I mean, absolutely. So, the district commander will probably be able to give you some specific information. He may have some deputy sheriffs, that like working in the city, that frequent it more than others. But it's that same core group of South Putnam deputies that just rotate in and out between the inside of the city limit and then the immediate outside of the city limits. So it's never was, however it got, if I own that, I own it. I'm first one to take ownership. It was never the intent that you would only ever see 5 deputies. We have offered lots of opportunities to meet those deputies through trunk or treats, and that's your core groups that are there doing that. Whatever, you'd like to facilitate to become more familiar. I'm proud of these guys. I'm proud to show them off, as you can see, and I'll show them off to you. And they're doing a good job with it. It's just could never have been the right way to go to have them the same 5. Now, do we ever have some that want to work it more than others? This is their gig. They like it slower. They whatever the case is. There may very well be those guys that work it more frequently. I've just never laid down the law that they have got to stay in Crescent City. Now, I don't want them changing day in and day out. You're gonna have them for a period of time. But they will change frequently to give them the experience they need to serve the citizens and to give them the opportunities they need to advance their career. But again, happy for you to meet all of them. You know, the entire East District, is, 20 deputy sheriffs. So four per, well, actually, it's an odd number. It's 21 deputy sheriffs because you've got that one extra that fills for Crescent City. So it's 21 deputy sheriffs in the East District, and then 4 sergeants, 1 lieutenant, and 1 captain in the East District. And the East District is from the Memorial Bridge to Volusia County.
I just,
Commissioner,
Yeah.
Laura, you have a question?
I just wanted to say, I mean, obviously, the proof is here, and the numbers, I think that you guys are doing a great job. I feel safe, I see you all the time on the roads, I don't know how many times I ever saw a police officer go by my house, but I see sheriff's officers all the time. And anytime I've called, you guys have responded, so I think you guys are doing a great job, and I appreciate it.
Boy, I appreciate that, sir, and I tell our guys every day, there's a quote they get tired of hearing from me. We will never be perfect, but if we strive every day to be perfect, we can be excellent. So your input is appreciated, and we will continue to do what we need to do. I think the contract is beneficial to not only the citizens of Crescent City, but also the citizens of the immediate surrounding area. And any other questions?
I think, I'm like Commissioner, he did too. I think just the physical location, even down there in the school, and when they come out the school and come up on 17, that gonna be a greater plus.
Right.
I think basically what we want covered, and we seem to have that with the schools. You know, I ride the town about like a deputy myself.
Yeah, you're right, sir. There's many.
He does.
And I hear talk that they're more scared of you than they are of us. So,
You see that car coming by, you
but,
go.
they know what you drive. But you're right, in that office that's here in the city, because that office serves as the captain for the entire East District's office. So it's constantly drawing those deputy sheriffs out of as far north as Dunn's Creek. It may not draw the one out of East Palatka, but it's constantly draws the one from Dunn's Creek and down. So the ones that handle the Palatka area and that type of stuff. So, and it's just a nice place for them to have. And so it's a great meeting location. It's great everything. And I'm really glad that we're going to be able to, regardless of what happens with the school, to keep that inside the city limits. And maybe look at, once we feel we're pretty permanent somewhere, looking at options to expand that, like putting a civilian clerk in it for a few days of the week to allow the Southern Putnam people a close place to come get police reports, do any of that kind of stuff they need. So hopefully that'll all continue to work out for us.
Commissioner Burton, do you have something?
Well, I just wanted to say that proof's in the pudding. I mean, basically, look at the charts. I think we should share those.
Yeah.
Because everybody here saw them tonight, but I think we should get them out there and let everybody see. Thank you. Good
Yes,
job.
ma'am.
I think so too.
Mayor, I have a question about the presentation overall.
Yes.
So Colonel Wells, I was just responding to the one point, but had some questions about your whole report. The county figures that you presented earlier that gave us the context, that was one thing I was gonna ask you about, but we don't have a copy of that as far as I know.
Do you want this page here is what you're asking me for?
It'll be getting like 5 or 6 slides.
Right,
The first part of the presentation.
It wasn't even completed and verified when I sent the packet, so I'll be happy to just resend it the entire thing.
Okay, and you answered my question about how the shooting at the Circle K was classified. One question I had when I looked at the 5 years was, I know there have been at least 2 major interagency drug task force or drug operations. Do you feel like those operations had anything to do with reducing crime in the area?
So response to your question, yes, and if specific information, I know this wasn't part of the question, but I'll offer it to you. If you specifically want information too on drug enforcement, drug cases, easy to get for you. I can get you that information. I will tell you that, I feel relatively confident that both of those, which were both state, federal, and local, investigations, one of them focused south of the city limits, and that was the methamphetamine across the Mexican border into Texas, into Atlanta, into southern Putnam County and Ocala. So absolutely, I think that anytime we can enforce those large drug operations, it will reduce the crime in the immediate area. I don't know that I can stand here in front of you and tell you that I can definitely give you the proof and that it does, that it has an effect on Crescent City. But again, I don't see how it couldn't, because we always see drops in certain types of crimes after even search warrants. We'll see drops in certain crimes in those areas. Most specifically, those property crimes of theft and burglary will generally decrease in a area where there's been heavy narcotics enforcement, because a lot of the users of those narcotics, again, are not criminal, evil people. They are victims of substance use disorder, and they use those crimes to feed to help that disorder. So I hope that helps you a little bit. But, yeah.
Well, I was hoping that it would contribute. I know y'all were very involved in those two interagency operations. And then one question I had, this is going back into the past. We had some really high figures for burglaries and whatnot in 2019 and 2020 in the city. And I do not remember, I know there was one year, and maybe it was crossed over from 19 into 2020, but there was a particular juvenile at the time who was breaking into businesses all up and down 17 and Central Avenue, and also committing crimes outside the city limits.
Right.
Was that 2019 or 20, do you recall?
It was.
I'll ask
Or was
Mr.
it?
to help on that one. I recall your time, but I won't be able to put it into a year for you.
As we've seen historically, usually there is one person, when one person goes on a crime spree, it elevates our numbers drastically.
Right.
And that is exactly what this was. I can name you the two names in those 2 years of exactly who that was, who committed all those crimes.
Well, I remember because I contacted the state attorney's office, and so did the former mayor, because unfortunately there wasn't coordination between the local police and the sheriff, and the person initially was in danger of not being prosecuted in the right manner because they didn't have the critical mass of crimes or whatever. But I also remember because people had, it was very traumatic for people across the city. But that was both 2019 and 2020.
Yeah, one of the challenges we've had, I've explained to you guys before, is we know who did it, but we can't prove it. So, and when we always see, when we get that one person, when we get that person incarcerated or get them on the right path, those numbers drop drastically, and that speaks for itself.
That young man was arrested on December 6th,
2020.
of 2020.
Yeah, so that
And
you
you'll
had
see it all
a huge
stop
spike in
it.
2020.
Yes, and that's where it was, and he was arrested the Saturday that you took over. By midday, he was arrested. And he had hit quite a few at that time, and he was also, I believe it was Christmas, you remember it was Christmas. And
I chased him 1 foot out of a stolen car across the parking lot of Dominic Pizza and Black.
And so he was.
Exact day.
Wonderful, yeah, so that's where a lot of that from 2020.
Right, that's what I thought.
And when it just it went down from there, and I think everybody realized too, is that they were being, that you're here, there's a presence, and.
I can tell you what I would the other success here is the fact that once we get any kind of burglary at all unsolved felony crimes and some misdemeanors, depending upon what we want to do with them, the deputy sheriff's responsibility under our crime control strategy is to go to the scene, collect every piece of physical evidence he or she can, do the best investigation they can, do a neighborhood canvas, check with all the neighbors, write a great report, collect physical evidence. I didn't mention that. And so that's where it stops with the deputy sheriff. But then the next business day morning, it's on the desk of the detective that has required follow-up. So everyone that needs, because a burglary is a felony always, not only is it your deputy that gets it, but your property crimes detectives from this area of the county get it afterwards. And that's where you'll see a lot of these follow-up solves down the road is through those detectives.
And commissioners, I'm gonna say this, and then I need to close this out, we need to move on. Thank you very much for this presentation, to the commissioners and to our audience. When you see them out and about, when you see them parked in their cars, our deputies parked in their cars, introduce yourself. You know,
I was just basically saying.
unless you feel guilty about something, you know, a lot of people, if they feel guilty about something, they're like, oh, but introduce yourself, because they're very open to, they're very personable, and, I do that often. You know, just walk up, hey, I'm Michelle, you know?
Yeah, that was one of the challenges I was gonna give you guys and to the audience, is when you see these guys, we see bad stuff every day. And to have somebody pull up beside you and say, hey, thank you, what's your name? There's only 16 of them, well, 17, there's 17 of them. I promise you, it won't take you very long, you'll get to know, you'll get a name on the face. And, I would challenge you to do that.
And they'll remember that, they remember that too.
Absolutely.
So, okay, with that, is everybody good, we move on? Okay, thank you. Carl, thank you. Captain, thank you. Lieutenant, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to our next item, which is going to, I'm gonna ask, Jenny Oakland and Diane Kelly, if you would please come forward. I have, met with, both Jenny and Diane several times, and they wanted to come forward and share with us what they're hoping to accomplish, and they're working with the county on this as well. So Jenny, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that over to you, and then we'll take it once you're done.
First of all, I want to thank for this great opportunity to talk to the mayor and the commissioner and plus the public. I do want to mention, that we will provide the homeless, if they have pets, free vaccinations and pet food. Just make sure that you let us know, and we will be glad to do that. We have already done 2 pets that, are here behind TD Bank.
Lucky.
And, right, and so please get the word out that we will be glad to provide free vaccinations to those animals. And even if they wanted microchips, we could also do that as well. Cats included as well. I wanted to start off with, Ark Animal Rescue. We're a nonprofit at the south end of Putnam County, but we serve the entire community. Just to give you an idea of one of our biggest accomplishments, we started exactly a year ago, low-cost vaccine clinics. We only do it twice a month, sometimes 3, and we vaccinated 540 animals. And this has been a tremendous service for pet owners. Some individuals have 5 or 6 pets, and it becomes extremely expensive. We also provide food, cat food and dog food to the South Christian Food Bank. In fact, my car is loaded and I'm planning to deliver that food tomorrow. But we are here because of spay and neuter. And it is a tremendous problem in Putnam County. And I just want to share some statistics that Diane, our wonderful grant writer, has researched. And I will be glad to forward this presentation to you via email if you wanted to share it with any of the public. One female who has not been spayed can produce 67,000 puppies in 6 years. In 7 years, one cat can produce 370,000 kittens. And plus the offsprings as well. So we have this great opportunity with USDA to get a grant for a spay and neuter trailer fully equipped. It would be housed at Crescent City Kennel, which I own. And I am sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I am the president, proud president Ark Animal Rescue, and I could not do this with the amazing team that I have that works every day with these animals. Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, I had 26 puppies at the kennel. I am down to 13 and 3 newborns. The cat room is now the nursery room again. The problem is cost. Individuals really want to do the best for their animals, but they just can't afford it. And so we are proposing for the cities, and that includes Crescent City. We met with the mayor of Willaca and the mayor of Pomona Park with Commissioner Bill Pickens this morning in regards to getting the funding, because the grant only gives us 75%. We got 3 proposals, and the average is $150,000 for a mobile spay and neuter. And that means that we will be also moving this trailer to the Palaca area, as well as Interlochen. It will not only be in South Putnam, because this is a county issue. Some of you are on Facebook every day, are animal lovers, and you see the amount of animals that are being dumped, neglected. The stories that I could tell you are horrendous, and I focus on happy endings. That's the only way I could do this 24/7. And it is a 24/7 job, because animals are always in need, and we are the voice for them. They speak through us through their eyes and their body language, and it's incredible. And I'm not talking only about pit bulls. I have gotten Great Pyrenees, German Shepherd. I had one, a plumber that found her on the road, on the side of the road in Pomona Park. She's at the age where they're done breeding her. She is a $5,000 German Shepherd, and somebody just dumped her on the side of the road. No microchip, no collar. So this is a critical problem as well for safety. How many of you walk your dogs here down the sidewalk, and then God forbid there's 3 dogs that they're trying to catch and attacks you, or a child, okay? Or and statistically, an unneutered dog will be attacking, and it has the highest, or the third, highest rate in Florida, in the nation is Florida, number 3, in dog bites. Okay, so we as a community have to think as a group of what we can do. It is pet responsibility. And I am also an educator, and I am happy to say that I will be presenting an educational program for elementary, middle, and high school next week to the school board. And I think that's where we need to also start, is the importance of pet responsibility. And I'm not only talking about dogs and cats, I'm talking about farm animals, roosters, chickens, goats, et cetera, et cetera. So we are proposing that the city of Crescent City, yes, provides us some type of funding. They will need to decide that, but we also want public comments. And then I'm going to turn over the rest of the presentation to Ms. Diane.
Thank you. Excuse me. My name is Diane Kelly, and as Ginny mentioned, I do the voluntary grant work for the rescue. And some of the grants that we've gotten, Petco Love, you may have seen that advertised, free vaccines. Pet Finders also has funded us for some playground equipment for the kennel to help enrichment. So we're doing a lot of work to improve services to the community at a low cost. And with that, not only the vaccinations, but spay neuter is absolutely vital. You know, we have heard that many are very interested in potentially looking at some type of way to instill accountability for pet owners to do the right thing and take care of their animals, get them spayed and neutered. But one of the things that is near and dear to my heart, and certainly Jenny's, is accountability, of course. But before anybody's really held accountable, just like I've learned in business, and I'm sure you all can appreciate and know too, that you have to enable people to be successful. And right now, people in Putnam County with 26% impoverished, Crescent City is in the same boat. And many of them, like Jenny said, most of them want to take good care of their animals, but frankly, they just can't. So we need to progress to a spay-neuter capability, low cost. This trailer is fully equipped. It does have the anesthesia equipment. It has all the pens. It has all the lighting, all the other veterinary equipment. And it's not just to help us with spay-neuter. It can evolve to help with other services as well. Many people have a difficult time if your dog gets injured and needs stitches, and they can't afford the commercial veterinary expenses. So we want to evolve to be able to do that as well. When you have a fully equipped capability like this, you could do that. But that's not going to be in step one. We want to get this facility set up. So Putnam County, Crescent City as a key utilizer, because Jenny's located here, and the traffic, by the way, of folks in this zip code 32112 is very heavy as it relates to the clinic. So we're excited, and it will expand beyond certainly Crescent City. Now, for clarity's sake, what we're asking for from this group in your package and what you've already seen is a resolution to support requesting the support of Putnam County. We have met with the Board of County Commissioners recently. We are asking them for $25,000, not to write a check right away, but to commit. We're asking for commitments. So we were asking for a commitment from them, and we worked with Michelle. She was gracious enough to try to help us with this and work with you all and get Jenny and I on the agenda so that we could put this resolution forward, because if we have confirmation from you all that yes, this is a need in our community, we support Putnam County contributing to this, this helps us with securing the grant. The grant has not been approved. However, it's an iterative process. We've had several discussions with the USDA, and we are cautiously optimistic. They do have separate and increased funding for Putnam County, which is great. They want to help improve Putnam County because of the level of underserved individuals. So I think we believe we're positioned well, but we don't have a yes yet. But what we do have a responsibility, Jenny and I, to do is to, let's say the USDA says, yes, Jenny, we will authorize this grant for the 75% is what they typically fund. Then we have a gap. And as with any grant work, when you have somebody who's willing to fund a certain percentage, you typically have to come at some point, if you're going to be granted the money, they're going to want to know, okay, if we give you this, how do we know you can fund the balance? So that's why we went to Putnam County. Now, we had, as Jenny mentioned, a great meeting this morning with Michelle, the other two mayors, and in the meeting this morning, we asked if all three would also commit to not only the support of the county, but also from the municipalities. Not much money, and this is a capital-only investment. So we're asking for $5,000 to $7,000 from Wielaka, from Crescent City, and from Pomona Park. And we're asking for $25,000 from Putnam County. Right. So with that, coupled with the USDA money, we should be able to fund a wonderful capability for certainly our community. So that's what we're really here to ask for, is the support of the resolution, and then also, based on a very productive meeting this morning, some, I don't want to say nominal support, because it's all beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? It's all, everybody's perspective, but we are asking for a few dollars committed by Crescent City as well, because the citizens here are going to be significant beneficiaries. Just as an FYI, and I'm sure many of you know this because you've experienced it, going to a commercial veterinarian, they do beautiful work, and they provide more extensive services when you go have your dog spayed or neutered. They typically do a pre-op blood work. They do a lot more with that than what we would be providing necessarily, but we provide what's necessary for a reasonably healthy animal to get spayed or neutered. Now, I have my bill with me, I paid over $400 for a 110-pound dog to get neutered. I'm not complaining about it, I love my vet, I love my dog, but it's a lot of money. I'm fortunate that I could pay it. But so many people, and Ginny tells me these stories all the time, it makes gut wrenching. They say, I love my dog, I can't do it, I cannot afford it. And so Ginny tells me that she talks to people who say, I can't even afford gas to get out of town to go get my dog spayed or neutered. So it's a very difficult situation. And then coupled with that, we hear about the horror stories of the demand on animal control or animal services. And certainly animals on the street, and wandering cats and all that good stuff. Not good, it's not really good, but you know what I mean. But the point is, we've just got to do something. And lastly, or one of the last things is Ginny also is planning on providing a service to the community cats. And Michelle had been telling us a while back about interesting work that was done in her area, and I'm sure others have seen it, where if you bring the community cats to get spayed and neutered, it's amazing how quickly the utilization, how much it drops in terms of all these wandering cats. So we expect to be able to serve that as well. We'll lessen the demand on animal control. We've seen that in Jacksonville. They have First Coast No More Homeless Pets when they introduced that. It took about a year, but they saw a notable demand reduction in what came into the Humane Society and animal control in Jacksonville. We expect to see the same here. We expect to see more. I don't walk more than one dog at a time, and that's not because I don't have more than one dog. I do, but I'm afraid to. I tell my husband, my sister gets on my case for walking my dog at night. She goes, "Aren't you afraid?" I said, "No. The only thing I'm afraid of is another dog." I'm not afraid of people. I mean, maybe I should be. She says I should be, but I'm afraid of another dog attacking my dog. I've been attacked before. I went up in the ER a while back from a dog that attacked me and my Rottweiler a long time ago. And with my neighbor's help, tried to break up the fight and wound up in the ER. But the dog survived, which is great. But anyway, it's a tough situation, and we're just asking for some help. It is a capital investment, it is a one-time expense. We will pay for the ongoing maintenance of it, for the medications, for the supplies.
Veterinary care.
Yes, and the vet expenses. So that's what we're asking for.
And one last thing, I also want to mention that we do take cats to Flagler Cats. Have a wonderful board member who, the owners leave them at the kennel, and she takes them at 6 o'clock in the morning and then brings them back to the kennel, because like Diane said, some individuals don't even have money for gas, or they cannot take the day off. And we're proud to say we're probably doing about 40 cats a month. And that's gonna be increasing, where they're getting another vet, and so hopefully we can do maybe 50 to 60 cats. I keep on saying we have so many other ideas. Coordination with the police department, TNR program, the educational component, with our children. Looking at breeders, dog fighting, rooster fighting. Our list is endless, but like my husband says, and I try to do this one baby step at a time. And I remember Rick, when he opened up First Coast, it was a baby step. They were in a tiny, tiny little building. And now that you go there, it's like walking into a Home Depot. It is a warehouse. They have wellness checks. They coordinate with animal services. It does work. And we here in Putnam County need this desperately, not only for pet and animal welfare, but for the safety of our residents and community.
Okay, thank you both. Thank you both. Yes,
I have to
ma'am.
mention, we're not asking, like Putnam County asked, are you asking us to write a check? No, we're not. We're asking for a commitment contingent upon our securing grant.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Charles, has said that 5,000 is doable. That was a concern, or however much. No, I know that in talking to the mayors, today, this did come up, that quite possibly that the county can't do the entire 25%. We were hoping that they could, but possibly they're not gonna be able to. And if not, then they would be looking to us to help with this service. And so that is before us. I know the other two mayors are taking those back to their communities and gonna talk to their commissions as well. You meet with us on the 13th, correct?
Yes,
With the county commission?
yes.
Okay.
And the school
Commissioner,
board.
you have something, Commissioner Vita?
Well, I'd like to move resolution 2024-03 that says the city commission supports Animal Rescue Consortium's efforts to establish an affordable spay and neuter clinic in Benton County. So I'd like to move the resolution, because that's what's on our
Yeah,
agenda.
that's on the agenda.
And I also have a question, but I think we should.
Let me get a second first. Do I get a second?
A second.
So we have a motion and a second. So let's have some discussion. Commissioner Burton, did you have something? I know you've been involved with this too.
Well, I have been involved in believing going after this resolution, but I think that we're a little premature since our discussion on animal control and all the different things that the city needs to do is not until February 19th. The resolution's good, but all I'm saying is I think that this is some of the discussion tonight and this evening about the city's commitment and all those things that they kind of added on to this resolution is very much premature. That's really what I wanted to say.
Commissioner Vita?
Well, and I agree with Commissioner Burton, on the agenda, there's nothing about funding. And I've done some quick figures and we don't have funding, I mean, it's just not on the agenda about funding.
Right.
Obviously, our city has been very concerned about this, we've had a workshop, we've had a request for another workshop. In addition to the resolution, which that's directed to, I believe, the county commission. I understand there's a grant application. Do we also need to authorize a specific letter of support to USDA to present with your grant application?
But, I'm sorry, that's why really this resolution,
Okay, so
because they asked me, the mayor, to write a letter, and I told them I could not write the letter as the mayor without the commission, and so we decided that the resolution would go with their application. Is that
Okay,
correct?
so the resolution covers everything. I
Yes.
just want to make sure.
Well, it doesn't cover the funding.
Doesn't cover the
So
funding.
this is separate.
It doesn't
Wait,
cover the funding.
no, I know it doesn't cover the funding.
Yeah.
We all read it, we're all saying, whoa, no, it doesn't say funding. But anyway, so that's my only question. The resolution will cover all bases for now, for your application, and then,
Absolutely.
to express to the county commission, that we are in support of the grant application.
I second.
It was already said.
I'm sorry. Already got a second. Do we have any other, discussion on this? Okay, so, and I guess what we will see is with the county, when they do whatever they decide that they're going to do, and then you'll have a better opportunity to come back and with the other request.
Okay.
That's acceptable,
Did they
if
say,
that's acceptable,
man, did they say when the county is gonna meet on
the 13th.
it? Okay, then we're gonna meet, have a workshop here on the 19th.
On the 19th, please.
Okay, that's good time.
And
That's
just
good time.
Yeah, just for clarity, the 25,000 with the county is not intended to cover the full gap.
Yeah.
It's if we were able to get 5 to 7 for each of the
Well, that's
three.
not what the resolution has tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
I
we're voting
understand.
for the resolution that's
Yes.
already on the table, I
Yeah.
guess. So I don't mean, I know what you said earlier, and I understand.
One,
I just want to make sure I clarify that.
we have some, I do want to say before we take a vote on this, and I know we've got some people in the audience that have probably come just for this. So if anybody would like to speak on this, you're welcome to come forward. If not, we're gonna go ahead and take a vote on this. Okay. No one coming forward. Karen, will you do a roll call for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Commissioner Bailey? I mean,
Aye.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
You're not in pain now.
She is in pain.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. Okay, so moved, and, I probably should read the resolution, just so that for everybody in the audience, it's a resolution of the Commission of the City of Crescent City, Florida, supporting the Animal Rescue Consortium, MARC, efforts to establish an affordable spay and neuter clinic. Whereas one of the most impactful animal control initiatives individuals in the community can take is to ensure dogs and cats are spayed and neutered to prevent overpopulation. And whereas spaying and neutering can dramatically reduce these numbers and to help prevent numbers of unwanted dogs and cats from wandering our streets, causing harm to other animals and people, crowding animal shelters and being euthanized. And whereas while spaying and neutering are encouraged, owners that do not spay and neuter their animals cite affordability as the number one reason for not doing so. And whereas, according to the Humane Society Veterinary Medical Association, access to low-cost spay neuter programs is essential to decreasing cat and dog overpopulation and shelter euthanasia. And whereas the local Animal Rescue Consortium has taken the initiative to do something about the overpopulation of dogs and cats in our county and is actively seeking a grant through the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, to establish an affordable freestanding mobile spay and neuter clinic. And whereas ARC's proposed affordable spay and neuter clinic will serve all of Putnam County and provide affordability to those wanting to be responsible pet owners that simply cannot afford spay and neuter services. Now therefore be it resolved and affirmed by the City Commission of the City of Crescent City that we support ARC's efforts to obtain this grant for an affordable clinic for our county and encourage our Putnam County Commission to support ARC's efforts by funding the 25% match required by the USDA grant. Approved and adopted by the City Commission of the City of Crescent City on the 8th day of February 2024. Thank you both. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you, and any of you, a lot of you have gone out to Crescent City Kennel and you see what they do there. Yes. And the work that they do, and it's amazing. And,
I have only one question, Jenny. How's Nate doing?
Good.
He's a cutie. He really is.
well, Nate actually, with Belinda, likes Belinda, the two of them. I think Belinda, that's the only dog that she likes is Nate. For some reason, they're
I
amazing.
like Nate.
Okay, with that, yes, ma'am, Mara.
Are you all voting? I'm sorry.
We already did.
Ah.
We already did. Jenny gets very excited. I will say that on the 19th, I am gonna go ahead and share with this, that unfortunately, it is a workshop. I will not be in attendance. Unfortunately, I have a significant birthday that week, and my daughter planned a trip, and yeah, so I said, well, I've got the animal, and she said, well,
Mayor,
yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
a
I'm gonna laminate it.
procedural thing, and I just wanna make sure with our clerk that everything is being broadcast properly. At the beginning, well, 45 minutes into the meeting, I just looked down to turn on my phone. I had an email from a resident that said they couldn't get the broadcast. And then, I showed that to Karen, she said it was being broadcast or that was corrected.
It was corrected, and it was 5 minutes into the meeting, when I got the email, and I actually read the email, it was probably about 10 minutes later. Something happened with YouTube, so I had to go back in and click on the meeting, but it is live and Charles has been watching it.
Okay, and then, so if it's not live on YouTube, does that mean that it's not being recorded?
It's
Other than your tape?
Yeah, it's being recorded.
It's being recorded.
It's being,
something
just not
happened.
broadcast.
It just happened, I don't know what happened to it. I mean,
Okay,
So probably the first portion, the
Yeah,
proclamation
which was,
possibly was not, okay.
The proclamation probably wasn't, it doesn't matter, but it'll be there.
but in other words, if someone wants to watch it later, it will be there when I post it on YouTube.
Okay,
It's already posted.
and then, thank you, so we're gonna move on to, yeah, commission, do you need a 5 minute break?
Do you think we can get through this next?
We're going to get through this, so we're gonna take a 5 minute recess, we'll be back in 5 minutes. And with that, we're going to move on to, this is our, Commissioner, this is our second reading. Yes. Mr. Pickens, if you want to.
Yes, an ordinance of the city of Crescent City, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Article 4 of the Code of Ordinances, providing for regulations pertaining to code enforcement within the city limits of the city of Crescent City, providing for the use of a special magistrate or code enforcement board, establishing the qualifications of said magistrate or code enforcement board members, establishing the duties and powers, enforcement procedures, conduct of hearings, administrative fines, liens, and appeals, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the second and final reading of ordinance 2023-13.
Second.
so we have a motion, and I believe Commissioner Lori came in second on that one. So we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion before I open it up for public comment?
I do, Mayor.
Yes.
I don't think I voted for this on first reading.
You did not.
I think we need to step back and take a broader look at what we are doing here. Most cities favor volunteer boards who contribute. And most of the people on this board have been contributing for a long time. We've had a long history of, well, at least in the past 3 years, we've had a history of conflict in the community between the commission and the public and the commission, different factions in the public. And I think we need to remember that boards are a way to be inclusive. They're a way to allow others to participate in government. And the qualifications to do that participation should be that you want to do the job and you're able to do the job, not whether you had a certain person's sign in your yard during a campaign or whatnot. So inclusiveness, setting an example as a commission, is a way to reduce division in the community and not increase it. This commission, unfortunately, this is the third time we've made an effort to eliminate a board. And I do appreciate the fact that this gives us the option to hire a special magistrate. A year or two ago, the commission as a whole was not happy with recommendations from the tree board, and there was a threat to eliminate the tree board. I mean, the way that a commission is really supposed to handle boards and recommendations from boards is if they make a recommendation you don't like, then the commission has last word. So, from my observation, really, we've not had any complaints from the public about the code board that I recall. They've done their job, and as Colonel Wells said, you may not be always perfect, but you're always trying. We've never offered them any training. But we've really never had any complaints from the public, and I don't really like the flavor of this and how this all came about. And I think that we should take a step back and just think about what boards do for us and being inclusive and letting those boards continue.
Thank you. Commissioners, any further discussion? Okay, with that, I have two speakers that have, there we go. We have Ms. Maureen Cooper.
Not on that.
Oh, you're on. Which one did you want to speak on?
9, didn't I write number 9?
Yeah, you did.
That's way down.
That was the one for art.
No, it says code green issue.
business item.
Oh, the code lien, okay, so under 10, business.
Mine says 9, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I apologize, so
That's
you didn't
okay.
want to speak to this. And
No,
the
ma'am.
same with you, Ms. Holland?
Yes.
On that one, okay. Do we have any other speakers on this? Okay, seeing none. I have a proper motion and a second. Bobby, I do want to ask you that with that, do we need to also include in that motion to request to put out an RFQ on this
I mean, I
for a
think
magistrate?
if it gets approved, then
Then we
it's
could do
the
it.
pleasure of the commission at that point.
We could do it at that point. Okay. So right now, let's go ahead and do a roll call, if you would, on the current motion that we have to accept this second reading.
Commissioner Burton? Aye. Commissioner Banks?
Aye.
Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito?
Nay.
Mayor Myers?
Aye. Okay, so moved and passed. So commission, that's, I'm gonna put that to you if you wanted to, if anybody wants to do a motion to put out an RFQ to see what is available.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that.
I think it's gonna be
Okay.
under, it would be under the $1,000, so I don't think it's gonna require,
Okay,
That's what I needed to RFQ.
I mean, I guess we just direct Charles to, there's the guy that does the county and also Interlochen
Interlochen.
is
and
interested.
Palakas, I think he does Palakas.
I'm not sure about that, but he did say that he was interested if the city decided to go in that direction.
Okay, so we can entertain a motion to have Charles
I guess
reach out to him,
Yeah, bring back some
bring back,
options or something, yeah.
bring back the options, so.
I'm sorry, so that shouldn't have been on the agenda as an agenda item?
Well, we had to do the first things first, it's first things.
And if it
That's
got
not
approved, if it got approved,
That option, that we could do it.
I think you can still direct, you can still direct
Oh,
Charles,
I like it.
so.
We can do the virtual agenda, sorry, pleasure. I move that we go ahead and direct our city manager to, I guess, put out feelers to find a special magistrate.
And bring back his
Very
recommendation.
nice, yeah, your his recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a proper motion and a second. Karen, would you do roll call on that one too, please?
Commissioner DeVito?
Nay.
Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Banks?
Aye.
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
Mayor Myers?
Aye. Okay, so passed. Okay, with that, we're gonna move on to the lien reduction. So we have a code lien issue for 1014 and 1016 Clemens and 720 Bay Lane. So, Ms. Taylor, if you would come forward and give us an overview on this, please.
Good evening. Mayor, I have a basic question. I really don't understand, this is a memo about a city manager. He just says he wants this on the agenda. He says the issue was brought before the code enforcement board and no action was taken. Actually, I don't think that's correct. I looked at the materials, it said the code board declined to remove the lien on the Bay Street violation. They didn't take no action, they declined. But as well, the city manager says, I believe this is because there appears to be a number of actions the various owners could take to resolve the issue, none of which they are willing to take. So Mr. Gullett is requesting this to be on the city commission agenda. If the private property owners are not willing to take action, could Mr. Gullett please explain why the city is being asked to act on a private matter?
Yes, but at this point, I'm gonna let Ms. Taylor give us an overview of it, and then we'll ask Mr. Gullett to speak on that.
She said, but why is this?
I'm gonna ask Ms. Taylor to, because
Okay, she said she has 39 slides, there were 50 pages here.
we don't need that. Can you just give us a brief summary, and then we can ask our questions?
I think that was a slight exaggeration on my part. So I've talked to Commissioner DeVito.
Who's talking to you?
Yeah, talking to your mic hand, please.
Oh, this is a lien reduction for 720 Bay Street. There are 2 liens on this property, which are clouding the title of the 1014 and 1016 Clemens Lane. And the property owner of Clemens Lane wants to sell her property. And because of these 2 liens on 720 Bay Street, it's clouding the title. So she, I guess, asked Mr. Gullett to represent her. There's a variety of, this is just an overview, you don't want to see all that. There's a picture of the junk vehicle that was a violation, and it's gone now. You can.
So basically, Pam, let me see if we can.
Okay.
It's our understanding, or my understanding is that there are liens against a property on Bay Street, correct? That both these women own.
Correct.
But the property on Clemens is the one that is being sold or attempted to be sold.
Correct.
And there are no liens on that property. However, let's go from there if you would, because the liens on Bay Street, which are significant, how that impacts Clemens.
The case on 17-057, the fines are $50,975 as of today, at $25 a day for 2,039 days of non-compliance. You can, there's a variety of remedies. You can accept the payoff and release Arnitha Williams from the liens. You can require that the property be in compliance before a lien reduction is considered. File a partial release of lien without any payment, require full payment. You can choose to take no action. Ms. Williams could take her name off the property at 720 Bay Street, which would relieve her property on Clemens, or she could get a permit for the property at 720 Bay for the violations that were there, that are still a violation. I don't know if Attorney Pickens has any other suggestions that they could do.
Why don't we, ask Mr. Gullett if he wants to come forward?
Actually, I have one question. So the uncorrected violation on the property on Bay, 720 Bay, that was failure to get a permit for construction?
Right.
What kind of construction was it?
It was a roof.
Okay.
And interior work.
Okay, so in other words, there could be significant corrections potentially needed for.
There could be.
Okay, we don't know, but there could be significant, corrections that might be needed before the permit can actually be issued.
They can issue a permit, but the inspections may require some correction. You're correct.
That's kind of what it meant.
Yeah.
Your permit's not clear. I mean, it wouldn't be considered in compliance until they both had the permit and had the inspection. Is that not correct?
And any corrective actions that need to be taken.
Right.
That's right. Okay, that was the question I had.
Commissioner Burton?
Yeah, I just have one question, Pam. How much is the permit? I mean, what?
I don't know how much the county would charge for a permit. Miss Diane Williams,
I saw she pumped down like $78 or something at some point.
she did. She came in,
But never really filled out the forms or.
right,
And that was before, that was when the city was doing the permitting, not the county.
correct.
So you're not sure what that would be? Okay.
I don't know how much, I think a roof permit costs probably $80. I'm estimating, I don't know.
And then also, I think that the interior garment is dependent on the cost of the improvement. There's like a percentage or something. Yeah, so I mean, we wouldn't know until.
Okay.
So it's just, yeah, I think it's a sliding.
A lot of times they do a umbrella permit, and I don't know.
Put everything under. Commissioner Banks? Okay. Mr. Gullett? Thank you for coming tonight and sitting through this.
Absolutely, good evening. I'll do the formal JJ Gullett title, 117 North Summit, hopefully soon 234 North Summit. But if I may, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, have something that may help us along pretty quickly, if I can. So while that's being handed down, I know there's talk of and I like number 3 up there, by the way, but, I know there's talk about permit and work and whatnot, but again, while that's being passed around, I just wanna let you know that the background of, a very quick background of the parties at play. Of course, my client is Miss Arnita Smith, who's been a Crescent City resident. She built this house in 1993. Her parents originally bought this property in 1950, so for 71 years, this family's been here. She's been living in this house for 31 years. Parents got divorced, and just so I'm not defaming anyone, her co-owner in this property, who's been accused and found guilty of some issues relating to instances like this, but she came on the picture unbeknownst to everyone, married her father, who's 31 years her senior, and unbeknownst to the whole family when this happened back in 2004. So there's some familial issues, and once a lien attaches to a property, any subsequent action by the owners will not remove the lien. So by Ms. Arnita simply just divesting herself of her 1/2 interest will not remove the lien of the code enforcement items. However, what we just filed, and I think it looks like today, is what's on very Friday, which is a notice of homestead under Florida Statute 222. And that'll be served, and there's nothing bad about it, but that'll be served to Attorney Pickens and Mr. Rudd in the next few days by certified mail. But I know these are duplex, so the back of page 3 is why we filed this notice of homestead, and I believe it should be highlighted for everyone, but so just to make sure we understand, we'll bifurcate the issues of the house on 720 with the status of the lien for Miss Arnita on Clemens Lane. So under 162, which is where our code liens come from, it cannot attach to, it cannot be foreclosed, excuse me, I'll correct myself. It cannot be foreclosed on homestead property. So the lien which is attaching to Clemens for violations at 720 by law is prohibited from being foreclosed or foreclosing out the property on Clemens. So the city and, of course, that's really for Attorney Pickens to verify that too. The city has no remedy to foreclose on Clemens to make sure Bay Street gets taken care of. So what we're asking is on the very back of what you have, the last 2 pages, we're asking for a partial release, and we have went ahead and just taken liberty and drafted what a partial lease would look like. And what's important to me on the partial lease is next to the last paragraph, which is the very, very back, is in the way we wordsmith it is we wanted to make sure that we only are releasing Clemens, and furthermore, that, we're asking, again, where we have it drafted is that nothing is going to be deemed to acknowledge compliance with or release any of the orders dealing with Bay Street. So this just separates Clemens from Bay Street, and the reason why we're asking for the release, even though we filed the notice of homestead under 222, basically we cannot act on any property under the notice for 45 days. However, and this hurts my case quite a bit, the Clemens Lane has 2 pieces of property. Arguably, only one is protected by homestead because it's within the municipality city limits of Crescent City, and it can only be 1/4 of an acre for constitutional protection from forced sale. So we have part of our property in Clemens is questionably protected, and we would have to obtain a judicial order from a judge to state the entirety of both parcels is protected homestead. On a side note, with the code board in December, I don't think they refused to, offer or I don't think they refused to release the lien. I believe they refused to make a recommendation, more so than refused to release the property, just refused to make a recommendation. Now, I know if the city does allow this 31-year resident to sell her house that she built in 1993 from the parents her property, her parents had given her, I know it will take some time from Attorney Pickens to review and approve, and actually construct a partial release, which my client is absolutely willing to pay that as an admin cost. Any questions?
Commissioner Delia? I do. So the memo from our city manager says that this item is on the agenda because the owner of 1014 and 1016 Clemens Lane is trying to sell the property. So is there an offer for sale on the property?
Affirmative, and what we actually have to do by law is list that contract in that notice, and that is on the second page of it, we have the terms of the contract.
Okay, so, it's my understanding that we can't foreclose on homestead property, but it's also my understanding that the way the city gets paid from liens on homestead property is when the property is sold.
So the issue with that is correct if the violations are for the homestead property, which this is not.
But when did, okay.
One of them is, one home is not.
So the violations exist on 720.
Right.
So if the violations were on 720, which they are, and if 720 was my client's homestead property, then yes, that is enforceable, to where you can come in and force the sale, or force the tear down. However, this is cross-attaching, so the violations on 720, there's no violations on Clemens, so by statute, this attaches to anything that's owned in the whole county.
Okay, is this a new declaration of homestead?
Yes.
Yes, the
Okay, does this property?
It's been homestead since 1993.
Okay, does she have homestead exemption on it?
Since 1993 when she built this house.
Okay, I don't really understand even why we're here, because, it seems like it's a legal issue.
It is.
So why?
Which can be simply fixed by just the city saying, listen, we know there's familiar issues, Clemens, we don't care about the lien of the property in Clemens, we want Bay Street fixed. And we have been retained to file a partition action on Bay Street, which will be forthcoming.
Okay, but Commissioner?
No, we're here today because, like he said, you do have a buyer.
Yeah, we have
They
someone
have
else
a
wants to come
buyer,
and
they
citizen
can't
of
do
Crescent City.
anything with this, it's very similar to the property we dealt with down here on the old dry cleaners. I remember he owned the property out on Lake Shore, on
Okay, but
Paradise.
except it didn't involve homestead.
No,
So my question really is, shouldn't this have gone to the city attorney instead of coming here?
No,
no,
because I can't release it.
Yeah,
he can't, we have to release it, he can't do that.
Okay, but I would have preferred that this whole thing be reviewed by our city attorney so that we would have a recommendation from the city attorney that we're supposed to release the lien. I mean, do we have to release the lien, Bobby, or is it just invalid?
No, then if we didn't file something within 45 days, then it would just be invalid. We would have to take some type of legal action to try to get the circuit court to determine that it wasn't homestead status. If we wanted to take that position to try to keep the lien on the property.
Could you speak up, please? Sorry.
Yes, he is, your microphone, please.
I forgot, what was the question?
The question is, is the city required, do we legally have to remove this lien, or is it invalid?
No, we don't legally have to remove it, but they file this when we get served. If we don't do something, I think it's within 45 days to file a declaratory judgment in the circuit court to have it, try to determine that it's not homestead. Then it's gonna fall off and not attached to the property that they're trying to sell.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Maybe I'm just simple-minded here. You know, this seems to be, something that's just kind of like blown everything out of the water, this whole deal here. It seems to me like, what I read, okay, is, the joint property, the lien on it was $142,700 on this particular property.
Yes.
Okay, the property market value, according to our tax deeds, okay, our property taxes, for that particular property, okay, is, $22,190. That's the joint property that she owns with Diane Williams.
Is that the one on Bay you're referring to?
Yes, the one on Bay, 750 Bay.
Yeah, the one right next to the church that burned down.
The one that she's trying to sell is, both properties together are worth about $109,000. Why does she want to even hang on to this? She only owns about $11,095 worth on this house. Why is she just gotta hang on to that? Why can't she just let it go?
So,
We're going through a lot of rigmarole.
yeah, if we want a little bit of insight into that soap opera, so we have two separate estate properties, yes. There was an action filed by Miss Arnita against both properties to set aside deeds to undue influence. One was found to be so, and that deed was set aside, which happened to be Clemens. Bay Street, because of the secret wedding, the court would not set aside that deed because marriage would trump undue influence for that case. So we have, from Miss Arnita's point of view, property in the family for 70 years, and, you know, someone 3 decades younger than her father came in, swooped in, had a secret wedding, and now is trying to take half his everything.
So this is what, okay.
Yeah, so that's your answer into this.
There's
familial.
there's issues between the two parties.
Yeah, that's it.
And this
That's
is all
basically the way
of
to
the
say
record court documents that I'm telling you, this is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, I just need to know why that
That's-
$11,000 is so important.
Yes.
Her mom and dad's property for 70 years.
Okay, so I understand market value, but what's the sale price on the house?
That I can't.
He can't
say.
disclose that. He can't say that. He can't disclose that.
Wait, man,
Yes.
the one on Bay Street, you can ride by and tell what the property tax on that one. Or half of it is storage. And the top is bad, and it's just bad. You know, it'll cost more to prepare that house, to make it livable and pass inspection in the property work.
So I will tell you one thing, and this was spoke about in December, and then I met with Miss Arnita in my office, I believe it was in January, but I made sure I let her know, I said, Miss Arnita, I don't really even want to talk to the city about this on Clemens Lane if we don't have something started on Bay Street. I don't want to just say, hey, I only care about Clemens, because that is not true. I want her to be able to sell her 30-year-old house, but I also want Bay Street for the community to be cleaned up. So that's why I wanted to let you know that she has, there's been a retainer made to start clearing up through a partition action and force the sale of Bay Street.
Let me ask you, this is getting out personal, I don't really know the two people involved very well. But again, you're looking at a piece of property that really is not worth a lot of money. Has she maybe buy out that other, well, then it's still got a lien.
That's the partition action.
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
So,
so
And it
when
still
is that
has a
gonna
lien.
take place?
still has a
They
lien.
still will have a lien, yes.
yeah, it absolutely will have a lien. The partition action, so what the courts will do through the partition is, in essence, one of two things. They'll, the first thing we'll have done is you set a value of the property irrespective of any liens against it. But then if one co-owner doesn't agree to sell it for half of what that value is, then they force a public sale, just like a foreclosure auction. And then some third party will come in. But these two co-owners are flat out not gonna make a deal with each other.
So, Attorney Dickens, what is do you have a recommendation? You have them, okay.
I mean, no.
Okay, well, wait, Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
So Bobby, we just got handed this.
And I just got it on Tuesday, so I don't have a written
Okay. So has this been filed?
We just received it back from Virginia.
I'm sorry.
We just received it back from Virginia and the clerk filed it this morning. And again, this isn't, any derogatory action against the city. This is just, hey, we're declaring this to be homestead property, so we don't want.
So I'm gonna make a recommendation. Our attorney hasn't really had a chance to review this. Attorney Dickens, do you feel at this point in time, we should probably table this, and if we have to have a special meeting, we can have a special meeting and give you the time that you need to look at it and give us our options based on what's just been presented to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Outside.
So commissioners, I need a motion.
I'm going to table this for consideration at a later date.
Okay. A motion and a second. I have two residents that did want to speak to this. Do you still want to speak to this?
Yes. Yes, I would love to hear from you.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna start with, Ms. Cooper, I'll start with you. Thank you, Mr. Gullett.
My name is Maureen Cooper, 34 North Prospect Street. Just for a little background, this case came before the code board on December 5th. They asked us to give a lien reduction. We normally would do that had the property been in compliance, but we were told the property was not in compliance at that time, and we voted not to have a lien reduction. It was a unanimous vote. So then on January 30th, Pam sends an email to the commissioners and the manager saying that it was heard by the code board and no action was taken. That is not correct. Action was taken. We voted not to reduce. The next day, Mr. Rudd sent an email to you on the 31st, repeating that the issue was brought before the code board and no action was taken. I take offense at that. I mean, action was taken. We did what we were supposed to do. And just so you know, the purpose of a code lien, it attaches to the property owner and it cross-attaches to what other property. So if you're gonna allow someone to, for whatever million reasons that they have, release a piece of property, you better look out, because you're gonna have to do it for everybody else. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Ms. Holland, would you like to speak, please?
She pretty much covered one of the things I wanted to say. Michelle Holland, 1110 North Summit Street. Chapter 162 Florida statutes provides that once a certified copy of the code lien is recorded in the public records, the lien bleeds. It bleeds over and attaches to any other real property owned by the violator. If the city determines that it will be generous and give the violator a partial release of lien, what is the consideration? Love and affection? It's gonna be for free? What I don't understand, and maybe Mr. Gullett can explain to me, is he saying because it's now gonna be declared as a domicile and homestead, that bleeding doesn't occur? Is that what happens?
By law, yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because I did not see that in the code. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, close out public comment on this. Commissioners, you have a motion before us, we have a motion before us to table this. Please, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, so table. Let's go on to, the decision on the CCNG claim. I am I'm not gonna allow that.
No problem.
They were gonna allow you to speak now. I know you've been wanting to speak this entire night, so now is your opportunity. Go ahead.
Back in September of last year, one of our high-pressure above-ground piping assemblies was struck by a car. And,
Jake, can you talk to the mic, please? And David, would you please talking to you?
I'm sorry, let me get closer. Back in September of last year, one of our high-pressure assemblies in Satsuma, it was out on County Road 309 in Folklore, was hit by a driver car. Don't know if they lost control, something ran out from them, whatever. But they destroyed, I don't know if y'all have the picture of it. They destroyed the barricade around it, destroyed the farm tap itself, which reduces the high pressure to low pressure to feed that street. It also took out a power pole by Clay Electric, which was about 3 feet away from us. It didn't actually fall, but it snapped it, and it was very dangerous. So because of that, we had to wait for Clay Electric to fix their pole for safety reasons for our employees. But also, if that pole was to fall into our structure, causing a release of gas, there was, a power line there, could have caused a fire. So it was all for safety reasons. But anyway, the situation was taken care of. We lost 11 customers on that street. It's a 3/4 inch long 2-inch gas main itself, so we had to bleed it down, get the pressure off of it. So the bottom line was I figured out the cost of everything, and I came up with a figure of $2,135. I presented it to the insurance company itself. They delayed, I didn't hear anything really from until late January. But they finally acknowledged that they received all my information, and as you see in your packet, this is what we received back of them. The owner of the car that did the damage had a 10,000 cap. So between the damaged power pole, our damage, the other vehicle that was involved, it didn't leave a whole lot of money, but out of the $2,135, they were offering us $1,162.48, which is about $950 less than what I had filed. The money that they are offering though will cover all the costs of parts. It'll cover all the gas that we lost, and it will cover some of the labor, but it won't cover all of the labor. So I discussed with Mr. Pickens, and he advised me that for that little bit of money, it's gonna cost us more money to get that. So at least we're getting something out of it. We're only gonna get about 56 cents on the dollar.
Can I ask a question? The other claimant on there, the copy 60%, is that the other vehicle? The claim offer that they got, it says the Clay Electric, it was 25% of it, we got the 11%, and that other person?
I'm sure, I haven't had any discussions about anything else other than just our claims.
Okay, I just was wondering,
So you need a motion from us, accepting this.
Yeah, I talked with Charles, and he wanted me to bring it up to the commission, I just accept or whatever. That's fine, with me.
Attorney Pickens.
And so that is my legal recommendation, is that it would make the most sense for the city to at least recoup some of the money, versus the unknown of filing lawsuit, obtaining a judgment, and whatever we can do with that. I will say that if we accept this, we cannot cede the other $900 because it's in there that will waive any other claims we have against them.
Well, I'm gonna move that we go ahead and accept the claim payout for $1,162.48.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion, and Commissioner DeVito, seconded that. Okay, do we have any further discussion, commissioners? Do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So do we assume that the insured is basically judgment proof because of the low value of the policy that they have?
I don't know for sure, but with that policy, I would assume that they are.
That's the minimum that you have to have.
Yes, they are minimum legal required. I don't have any inside information, I haven't looked into it, but I would assume based on the policy that they do not have a ton of assets.
Okay, and do we have a deadline? It says we have to respond within 10 days. So,
Yeah, so it's,
okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And
Yes, we
7
have.
days if we have any addition, if there's any additional damages. And it's not guaranteed because it says we prefer that all parties be in agreement, so we don't know what the other parties, what they're agreeing to, but for us. So we currently have a motion in front of us and a second. Yes,
One more
Commissioner Diviya.
question. So, Mr. Frank, we're basically self-insured for things like this. I mean, we don't have our own insurance that would cover without us, but it's just, we're self-insured, is that
The League of
situation?
Cities is doing that.
Right, okay, that's all I want to ask. Thank you.
Okay, with that, Karen Thornhead, if you would, please, and do a roll call for me.
Commissioner DeVito,
Aye.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. Okay, so moved, accepted. Thank you very much. Okay, on the next, item on our agenda is the approval of the lease to the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. And if you will, remember, we discussed this, I believe, at the last meeting, and this is the property, that is currently being occupied by Bella Title at 17, yes.
What you told me, I thought that the copy that went out to the commission was the cleaned up copy. I guess the one with the track changes went out, and those were the changes that were suggested by the general counsel for the sheriff's office, but I don't have any legal objection to any of the claims or any of the changes to the claims.
Okay.
The other thing that needs to be changed is design our addresses.
I saw that, it says 1 North Prospect Street.
The addresses and everything like that.
So commissioners, I mean, have you had a chance to go through the lease, to read through the lease, and do you have any comments on it?
Well, I have some questions for the
Okay,
sheriff's
you'll
office.
go ahead. I'm gonna let Ms. Commissioner Burton, she has one question, and I'll go to you, yes, Commissioner Burton.
Yeah, I just, noticed that the lease was for 1 year, and our contract for the sheriff is for 3. And since the lease is saying that, we're not charging rent, we pay for everything else, I don't see why our lease is not say for 3 years.
I guess,
That's my question.
do you have?
I always, when I'm writing leases, I always try to get in there month to month to protect the city if something goes wrong. They suggested, so I had it as month to month, and then they suggested a year. I don't have any, I mean, they make the
And that contract will be up for renewal,
I think it's soon.
yeah, it should be in March or April, it should be. We haven't renewed, we haven't.
I thought it was already.
That's why when I asked, I thought we didn't know how long. I thought we already had it done.
Yeah, I thought it was already renewed for that 3.
Yeah.
I don't recall us reviewing it for the, Bobby, you haven't looked at it, have you, for the, no,
I haven't even had any communication
Yeah.
about renewal.
so, I
This is
think,
about a lease.
yeah, this
There's
is.
nothing else on the table.
We understand that, she just asked a question,
So obviously, we don't really have a contract for 3 years for the next 3 years with our sheriff.
I'm sorry, could you speak into your mic?
Is that what I'm hearing?
We're currently under contract with them
Until,
until it renews, and I believe it should be renewing, it should possibly be renewing in April, May,
April.
April, yeah. But right now, we had it with Mr. Gullett, we had it with him from month to month. So,
okay,
okay, so this one's a year. Do we have any other comments, Commissioner DeVito?
Well, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, was there somebody from the sheriff's office, because I think they're from the sheriff's office. One of my questions was answered by, the updated copy. The original lease that we got didn't say sheriff's office substation. This lease says the sheriff's office substation. So my question is, how many officers or vehicles would be there at one time? Is there anything in here about parking spaces? I know Colonel Wells talked to us about it, but does it say anything in the lease about how many parking spaces or what would be occupied in terms of parking?
It does not.
We discussed it at the last meeting.
Yeah, we discussed it last
They have
meeting,
the whole back
the
area.
majority of it would be parked in the back, and I believe Gullet has 2 parking spots in the front. I think right here in the front, they have the 2 parking spots.
Okay, but shouldn't because who else uses that lot? I mean, where do the county employees park? Where do they park?
Park in the back.
Yeah, they park.
There's ample parking in the back.
Okay,
They have plenty of room.
there's just,
Would you like to add parking to it? Because if you want to add parking to it, where do you want to, do you have language
I
you want
think
to
that it would be
add?
helpful to add parking because the sheriff's office has a lot of equipment and I think we need to make sure that no one else is excluded, that, I mean, that's used also as public parking, it's used as parking
Captain,
during
come forward,
elections.
please.
It doesn't say anything about parking as far as I can tell.
Depending on what's going on, it could vary. So you may have 1 car there, you may have 5 cars, or I may have an operational briefing there, and you'll have 25 or 30 cars there. So we'll have to judge that accordingly. I don't know how.
As you
I mean,
discussed.
at a minimum, I would say at a minimum of 2. Because I'm gonna have probably 1 spare car that's gonna stay down here all the time. And then, you never know when it's, like I said before, officers kind of migrate together and they kind of stick, because that guy's in Crescent City, they kind of stick at the.
This morning there were 4 cars,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
And to me, I think the lease should address the parking situation. Because there are,
okay, so what language would you, what is your concern about parking?
my concern about parking is there's nothing specified here. It's not up to me to propose the language. I mean,
Well,
we
what,
have
I
to-
know, but you have a concern, so what is your concern? Because there is ample parking in that
Well,
in that back lot.
There's a parking problem, we talked to the captain.
I think that, probably initially when the plaza was put in,
Okay, hold on.
that parking in the back was included as part of the planning, was to have that amount of parking back there for whatever reason you needed it for. So, yeah, there's plenty of parking.
Okay, but if,
But you still have a concern, we're trying to get that, your concern.
I do have a concern because it needs to make sure that there's sufficient parking for the other county employees that come to work every day.
Okay, so that's your concern, is to make sure that there's sufficient parking for the other county employees. Okay,
Absolutely. And then I have more questions.
okay, go ahead.
So this is a substation, and there's a great value to Crescent City and having the officers in town, but there's also a financial burden on Crescent City. We were renting that property for $7,000 a year. Our budget is not unlimited, our costs keep going up. The legislature right now has bills afloat that could reduce our revenues and increase our costs. So I just am not understanding why Crescent City is funding the substation when it serves the entire South County.
It also serves us.
Well, I know it does, but we
More so
are
than
very,
anything else.
okay, I'm asking really the sheriff's office on this.
I can answer that. It's only supposed to man 1 person, but I can promise you will see a whole lot more than that there. It's not serving the county, it's serving Crescent City. It's giving that option for Crescent City to have those guys in a location here, and you have more than that. As example, this morning, we had about a 45-second response time from the office here to Crescent Lakewood Nursing Center, where they saved a life this morning. So you get more for than just out of that building. When you're talking about the cost of $7,000, that's about 2 of the new handheld radios that we're fixing to put on our deputies. So in retrospect, giving the guys a place to go, you kind of get a better bang for your buck.
Okay, and what is the total budget of the sheriff's office?
I'm not sure of that.
Well, I don't know that, I mean, I think that we already know that from the services, and we've been told this numerous times from the colonel, the services that are provided to us, that we definitely have got, a very good opportunity here for the sheriff's office. And I just know from Pearson, what they have to pay Volusia County for 12 hours. And so that was, my understanding with this, is this just was something to help. You were gonna pick up the utilities, we would take care of this, it's 1 year. In a year, we can look at it
Yeah,
and see where we are in 1 year.
and the other thing too is, the city just recently, we've made the decision that we wanna keep the middle school. And one of the things that is happening right now in middle school is they're emptying it. And I think it's supposed to be empty by the end of March, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was one of the dates that they gave. Well, the sheriff's gotta move somewhere. And we want the sheriff in the city. And I think that this, for a year, is a good alternative plan to have them move into this particular area. So, it's kind of a give and a take here. And while we figure out how we're going to keep the middle school, that's a whole other subject, and it's gonna take a while. We have to, hey, we have to share the burden a little bit.
Well, and the visibility, I think the visibility will be, significant. We have a lot of people that don't realize, because they don't, for whatever reason, don't have to drive down South Prospect, that we have a substation there. I think the visibility will help out tremendously also.
Not just that, but if I'm not mistaken, in renewing the contract whenever it's being renewed, that would, if we had to pay rent somewhere, that would probably be included in the contract as well anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely, yes, Commissioner Ward.
I was originally kind of against this, because I thought, you guys need to got the middle school, keep an eye on it, and it doesn't cost anything to be down there, and you guys got that air conditioner fixed. But, after talking about this last month and this month, I think it's a great opportunity, I think, for all of us. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't wanna lose the money, but really, in the whole scheme of things, $7,200 is not a huge amount for considering what we get out of this contract and the money that we save compared to running the police department currently. I know it's, we are gonna have revenue this year because Gullet is still there. And I think about when Gullet moves across the street, which I hope will happen soon because that house needs it. But that's just gonna be an empty place. And, $600 rent was a really good deal. And plus it was a police department before, that's why you remember it as. But, so.
And the biggest issue with the high school, or the school over there, it's a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah.
The air conditioner we just put in there was 13,000 to change. So it is a very costly thing over there.
And it doesn't really it's not really conducive to being a police station, really. It needs to be something else. But this used to be a police station. It still, I think, has a settlement, doesn't it, or has an evidence?
It does.
Locker or something like that.
Still has.
So, I mean, it just makes sense to me. Did we have a motion?
No, I need a motion.
I move that we approve the lease with those corrections that we have pointed out, like the address and a few other things.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I do have a few,
Yeah, there's a few weird.
notations.
Mr.
It says, Mr. Pickens, on 2 terms of the lease, terms of the lease shall be for 1 year, and they've marked out commencing on, it needs to be commencing on, so that we have that date in there. Also, this lease may be terminated early by written mutual consent of both parties, there's no notice. I don't know if that was, if you go down to 8A, it says to pay the rent, so there needs to be some language in there that says to pay the rent in every installment of it when it comes due, to use the premises in a careful, so, you need to probably look at that, because we stated earlier there will not be rent free.
Can we do it for $1? Is that what we do?
I was wondering about that, normally with a lease, you have to have for at least $1, is that, would you do for $1?
I don't know what it is.
Okay, it's not necessary, okay. And then it looks like there's a special air conditioning equipment, was that part of something that Mr. Gullett had?
Where's that?
That's being removed, that's gonna be on When you look at 8A, accepting movable furniture, equipment, supplies, inventory, and special air conditioning equipment installed by DC. So that might be,
Yeah, it was.
I think it had to do, I know that the least one I remember reading in for Gullet had some language about that, not using different parts of it, and moving any of the, like,
Yeah.
equipment locker, the evidence frames.
Is there-
We don't have any,
you know,
any special HVAC that was installed that's being moved.
okay, thank you.
It does say that it's what, more than $300, that, on the air conditioning unit, that we cover it,
Yes.
but they would be responsible for less. But I don't know how you do anything for $300.
Okay, do we have any other questions on this? Do we have any other comments?
I really think that's a good deal, though. And we got, people can visually see on two sides, in the front and the back. So it means a lot that we have that. I know down there, almost every time I go by there, you got 3 or 4 cars. And I like the way they maneuver out there to Williams. Early in the morning, sometimes it be 5, I don't know whether it be training or, I see it. It'd be 5 or 6 officers lined up out there in the morning time. So it really is a plus to Crescent City.
Okay.
And you see, if we look at, please.
Sorry.
If we look at the whole picture, see, we looking at part of the picture. If we look at the whole picture, what we're getting from the sheriff office is great. I know that they supposed to do certain things regardless because we are in Brooklyn County. But they got more focus on us now. And the highway patrol stops in there and the facility is there to use the bathroom and different things. So it's just a great plus. It's just a great plus. I don't know about you all, but I really appreciate it.
Commissioner DeVito.
So just some clarification, the point you raised about when does the lease begin? So when exactly, I mean, what is the coordination here? When is Gullet Title going to move?
Right now, he said the end of February, but I don't know that that's gonna happen, so.
Well, that's the question I've had. We're waiting, and wife was telling me, as I was driving down here today, I said, I need some hard dates. We're waiting for the reskin to be coordinated with the security access people to know that date, but what I can do is, we're firming up some dates and I can get that out to Mr.
All I'm concerned about is that we don't agree to lease the property for a date that begins before our current tenant is out. So however we need to do that, it seems like that needs to be coordinated.
I think they would,
They have a month.
Bobby, you would take care of that. I mean, at that point in time, you and their general, and the sheriff's office general counsel, that's when you would.
Yeah, I would say they would commence on when Mr. Gullett's out on whatever day they move in.
Okay.
And just so you know, Commissioner DeVito, I also talked with general counsel of the sheriff as well, so there's also some additional coordination going on between the lessees.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I just want to make sure that nobody's gonna, come in with a dolly and hustle you out the door. So that's fine.
We would love that also.
That's fine.
And you are working on the yellow building, the house. I see them working every day there, so thank you for doing that.
Even on weekends.
Okay, so we currently have this lease in front of us, and I have a motion and a second. Karen, would you do a roll call on it, please?
Commissioner Barton? Aye. Commissioner Banks?
Aye.
Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Mayor Myers?
Aye. Okay, so approved. Bobby, we're putting that in your hands. Okay, we're going to move on to the approval of Commissioner Lori's legal fees. I believe at the last meeting, Mr. Pickens, you said this was gonna be an ongoing.
Yeah, and I have reviewed the bill and I find that it's reasonable, the fees that were charged, so I don't think there's any legal reasoning that would prevent the city from moving forward with reimbursing what has been incurred.
Okay,
I will go ahead and say that I've filled out Form AB and given it to the city clerk, and I will abstain from voting.
okay. Commissioners,
I'd like to make a motion.
okay,
So I move that, on the recommendation of the city attorney, that the fees, that he has reviewed the invoice and that the fees seem reasonable, that the city commission, are we paying or reimbursing?
Reimbursement.
That reimburse Commissioner Lloyd for the legal fees, laid out in invoice 24676 dated February 5th, 2024 from the Crescent Group in Tallahassee, Florida, in the amount of $315.
okay, do I get a second?
I second that.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please, Karen, go ahead and do a roll call. Jessica?
Commissioner DeVito,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. Okay, so approved. Now we're going to move on to the special event permit for 2024 Crescent City Catfish Festival. Finally, I know there's a lot of people that are here, that, are here to discuss this. You've got the memo from the city manager in here. He talks about, the process, I believe, are you Rodney?
I'm Rodney, yes.
Hi, Rodney, welcome and thank you for sitting through this meeting today.
Oh, it's been an education.
Before we get going, I will say that, in this memo, they have asked, the city to pay for the $2,500 towards the dumpsters. I have spoken to Waste Pro, and Waste Pro has agreed to, take care of that. We just have to coordinate, you'll have to coordinate with Charles when he gets back, where those need to go.
Yes,
So we can take that, out of this, but they will be, a sponsor.
that's fantastic. And we'll make sure that they get good representation there.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Is that by filling up the dumpsters?
Well, actually, believe it or not, the most of that will be from, the swamp cabbage.
Yeah.
Because when they tear that stuff up, it creates, well, Mr. Pickens here, he would know.
Yeah. And I spoke to Commissioner Pickens about it as well, as far as, is this really, how many were they gonna need?
Yeah.
And he did say that it does take up quite a few of the,
It does.
takes up a lot of room in a dumpster.
It does. It does. It's a big mess. But, it's delicious too. That's one thing.
So the community has been asking for this to come back. We know you have a 4-year hiatus, to get rested and get ready.
Much rested.
But we have heard from the community, numerous times that they are excited about this to come back. So do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Well, I'm just happy that the city is going to be able to enjoy it. The residents are going to be able to enjoy it. That South Putnam itself is going to be able to enjoy it. One of the things that we get asked a lot is, what does the festival do? I believe that it creates a lot of excitement in our community. And also, over the course of the festival, this will be the 42nd festival. Over the course of that time, it's raised over $1 million. And that number that's a base number in just scholarships for our local high school seniors, and untold amounts of other donations that we've been able to make just from the proceeds of that event. So one of the things that I think was in that application as well, I know I spoke with Charles about it, but I don't know if it made it on the application, was the fact that because we're asking for that special permit for that day, years and years ago, we ran into a problem of, people were popping up on the sidewalks here and there trying to sell other items, other food items. That's the only way that the festival can be viable, is if we sell all the food items in the park. So anything outside of the park that's not directly correlated with the Catfish Festival and the Rotary Club of Crescent City, we would just ask that you refrain from issuing other permits that day.
I would just like to say that as a catfish scholar myself, for 2 years, I received scholarship in high school. So, I mean, not only is this the best thing that ever happened to Crescent City, but it does really do a lot of good. And I know that there's about 20 people in my graduating class that have scholarships. I mean, use other educational schools or college, universities, and it really does a lot of great, it does a lot of good. I'm a Rotarian, so it's Mr. DeVito, so.
Yeah, and I'd like to recognize, we came with support today. We've got Alice.
Everybody raise your hand if you're a Rotarian.
Yeah, we came with a lot of support, just to know that I'm glad that we're gonna do it again. You know, we were kind of on the fence. We didn't know if we actually had the manpower to pull it off, you know. It really involves hundreds of volunteers that want to do good in the community. And that's our whole goal, is to be a humanitarian organization that does wonderful things for local communities and worldwide.
I think the one thing.
Welcome back home.
Yeah, we're trying, and you know, the world stopped and it was hard to get back going again. We, unfortunately, are just like every other organization, we fell to attrition. But we're building back up, and this is just going to be the one-day event. It's only going to be a Saturday. Traditionally, it had been a Friday as well, but due to the fact that we're just starting up and we want to make sure that is this going to be viable? Are we still going to see the crowds that we do? We are going to advertise in our community and outside of our community as well, to try and invite some people to Crescent City. It's a beautiful park, and we want to share that with them. It's a beautiful experience here. So just bringing attention and focus back into our community, and then using that for goodwill, and using the funds that we have, because the whole theme of the event is Dollars for Scholars. And then we also help the youth in the community as well through other activities.
You're right.
Mayor?
Sure.
I'm sorry,
Wait
I
a
have a
second.
question.
I just want to tell him that we did book you for the whole weekend, so when you can get your dumpsters put in, that you do have Friday, Saturday, and clean up on Sunday. So that whole weekend is yours at Eagle Lion.
Yeah. So that's probably something I should touch on. It takes a lot to set it up. So we'll probably start as early as Thursday, just trying to move equipment towards that area and get it into the park. So you'll see activity throughout that week in the park. And we're not gonna put anything in there that we think is gonna be like something that's gonna grow legs or walk off or anything. I don't think we have sheriff's department tells us we don't have anything to worry about. But, that's really the case. No one can take this because it's larger equipment. And then really on Friday, you should see a little bit more activity in the park. And then 10 a.m. on Saturday, we'll be up and running and ready to go.
And it's 10 to 5, correct?
Yeah, it's 10 to 5. We kind of have we want to try and sell this. Hopefully we are out of food by 5 o'clock. There's always a little bit of a straggle time there, but we may be trying to clean things out of that well past 5 o'clock that morning into that afternoon and evening, just trying to minimize what we have to do when we come back Sunday with freshness, And typically, no good deed goes unpunished, so it'll probably rain on us at one of those times. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Just two quick points I'd like to make, General Watson. One is for those of you who may be new, just want to remind the economic impact that Catfish has on our community. I mean, with all the people that come in, the visitors, people come from out of the area, they buy gas, they buy groceries, they stay at the different lodging places we have, and so it really does bring tax revenue into our city, which is a major benefit. The second is that kind of goes back to it takes a village. Well, what makes Catfish work are the volunteers, and in fact, it takes about an average of 100 volunteers to make this work. And we've got the high school and the community involved in volunteering. We're going to be launching our volunteer program at the high school next week. This year we'll be introducing a new volunteer sign-up app for both the students as well as the community. And so we're really excited about that, and certainly would like to make that opportunity to volunteer to all you guys and everyone in the audience as well. Finally, as we move towards diversity, what we have done historically is Friday night, we've had a Hispanic band and a fairly good Hispanic turnout. What we've done, since we are just making it a one-day event, is we have them coming on Saturday afternoon. I think it's Potter Music Band.
That's not confirmed, but we have, that's what's going to happen, hopefully. We've got to dot those Ts and cross Is, but it's gonna be, about 3 o'clock or so they'll finish out the rest of that.
So we're really excited about that as well.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner DeVito, you have some questions?
I do.
Yes.
I have a long history of the Catfish Festival. I am a Rotarian. And also my house is directly across from the Catfish Festival, and this has been my family's house for, I don't know, over 80 years now. And so I was very familiar with the Catfish Festival when it started. First of all, I had some questions for the city manager, and he deferred them all to Rotary.
Okay.
So my question is, what are the arrangements for parking? Is there going to be a shuttle this year?
Because it is a one-day, typically on the 2-day event, we have done a shuttle system. Parking is around the community. They can park in the local areas that are available to them. However, we don't have a shuttle as of this point.
You have the parking, you can do parking over here as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a car show, I think, up toward the front, but you're gonna have across the street there will be parking available. And traditionally, people have parked all around the Miller School as well. So that does give quite a bit of parking. And I will say this, if they want, there is the lot that, I don't know what the fence looks like today. A few years back, it had a gate in it where the adult education building was. I'm not sure if that's still adult education, but where it was, there was a gate where you could actually park folks in that field as well. We're a couple months out. I would like to see someone in the community, if they want to charge for parking back there, or if the school board wants to open that up, or if they want to let that be used, you can actually park. One year, I think that they parked about 140 cars just on that grassy area, the old big play field area. So throughout Miller, the whole compound of that school, I mean, you could park somewhere around 200.
So the bottom line is there are no specific arrangements for parking?
No.
At this time, okay. And then, so you've not asked the city or the sheriff to close 17 or anything like that? You're not having those arrangements?
We are having a parade.
They are having a parade.
Yes.
Okay, no, I mean, in prior years, 17 has been closed to incoming traffic.
Yeah, that's actually on the first page of the application.
Okay, which is not very legible. Which page is
So
that?
it's on the application, the special event page. It says the parade routes on US 17.
No,
north
I'm
and
not
south.
talking about the trade route. I'm talking about in prior years, 17, the city has been closed to incoming traffic on 17.
Not
Only for the
parade. Only for the parade.
No, only for the parade. I've been in that, I've actually been a vendor in that, and I don't recall us closing except for the parade.
only for
Okay, well, I do, because I know people who tried to walk in, and I know people who've been turned away and said they did not come to the Catfish Festival because there was no information about a detour. I know people who grew up in Crescent City who didn't come to the Catfish Festival because the road was closed.
Okay, so
Okay,
for the parade, have you taken care of the parade as far as the closing of the road for the parade, and where will the parade take place?
I'm gonna let Mary Ann speak to that.
Parade will launch at 11 o'clock. What we were told by the city manager is that the city would make the arrangements with DOT for the road closure.
Okay, okay, so that's fine, because I have more questions. One of the issues, with Catfish has been the traffic on Main Street and the side streets. And
Main Street's closed.
okay, I'm not finished.
No.
Okay, I'm very familiar with this, and I've been over it with the sheriff's department and the city manager. My question is, who is in charge of closing Main Street? how will people know which way the direction is going? Are you folks in charge of closing the streets?
The Rotary Club is not gonna be in charge of closing the street. What the conversation that I had with Charles when we had a meeting was that, in order to get the permit together, I suggested, and I think that he said that he would bring it to you guys as well, is that we make, Main Street one way. Now,
Okay.
which way you want to make that is completely up to you guys.
My concern, and I will express this to the commission, Main Street has supposedly been one way in the past. There's no directional sign. There's no one watching it. The last time Main Street was supposedly one way, I had to go over and physically find the sheriff's deputies. And the other issue is, and this is very important, you can one-way the street, but several things happen. And I've written this up and turned it into the city manager before, and probably to my fellow Rotarians. People come early and park on Main Street and block the road and go up to the trucks and ask to buy food. Can that be prohibited?
I would not recommend that, and that's not something that we want to happen.
That happens as well. People in Rotary volunteers, people come back there and double park, so basically, no one can get through on Main Street, and it's a mess. So you're saying I should address this with the city manager?
Well, I would just have one thing to say. I mean, when we're getting things started before the actual start date of the event at 10 a.m. in the morning, there will be, our vehicles may be close to that, but if it's available to be one way, and when I talked with Charles, he said that there are signs that the city has that are directional signs, and they've done this in the past with other events.
No, actually, they have
So
not.
they have never done this in the past with any other event where they
That
put a
is
road
correct.
sign out. So the
That's
city has
correct.
never put a road sign out.
No, not
We put,
directly.
we have,
That's fine.
and for the Soul Food Festival, and we probably will have to do this again. And we addressed this last time when we put the barricades, you recall that, Mr. Evans, where we had the barricades right there on Main Street. So we had the barricades, so we're gonna have to, you're gonna have to probably work with Charles and just make sure that we have, and we've got plenty of time to make sure that, to take care of her concerns, that we have directional signs so that people know, and it's something that, I mean, we can even look at, that it's only those people that actually live, right there on Main Street that could
Okay,
pass
so
through.
my concern to the commission and to Rodney is, if a Rotary member's or volunteer's trailer is basically jackknifed on Main Street, then the street is closed, emergency vehicles can't get back there, the fire hydrant is at the corner, the street's been blocked before, so we just need to make sure that for everyone's safety, the road is not blocked. Okay, so we did parking, ID of vendors, point of contact for emergencies. So so you're saying Rotary is not responsible for arranging for law enforcement? That's something the city's gonna do?
Yeah.
We are gonna have, we're gonna, try and get 2 sheriff's officers there. One for the fact that we will have at the funeral home there, we'll have what we call like a Rotary bank, I guess, we call it, where we have a collection of money. We don't want to leave too much money in the park at any time, so we're collecting. So we're hoping to contract with the sheriff's office to have 2 officers there, and one located in that bank area, and then one in the park as well.
Okay, and then a couple of other things that have come up in the past. In 2017, a heavy vehicle was parked on the right of way on our side of the street. It caused damage to a water main, it cut off the water to our house. The city probably cost them thousands of dollars. That was when Patrick Kennedy was the city manager. Why he allowed that, I don't know. It was Stewart's RV. So it's just, I guess I'll take that up with Charles. The other concern I have, and keep in mind, these are safety concerns, and one of Rotary's obligations is it the truth? Is it fair? Is it beneficial to all concerned? So I'm just very concerned that the safety of the neighbors is taken into consideration. As well, a new focus area of Rotary is the environment. And an issue that I've raised for a number of years, and you mentioned inviting people in to enjoy the beauty of the park. In 2019, there was a review by Advanced Tree Care, Inc., master arborist, who indicated that severe soil compaction was occurring around the heritage oak trees in the park, and recommended several things to prevent further damage. I've shared this report with the city commission. I've shared this report with Rotary. It recommends two primary things. One is mulching the complete tree protection zone around the oak trees to minimize the effect of heavy foot traffic and also the equipment that's brought in. And as well, making sure that the cookers have some kind of covering over the top so that the heat doesn't go up and damage the oak tree limbs. Have y'all given any consideration to that issue?
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely, all of our cookers are covered, they have roofs on them. They have for several years, probably, since 2014. We also, we have moved, did you guys get a copy of the area map?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it seems to show cookers right on top, right where they've always been.
If you'll look at where it says food in the back,
Yes.
that's moved down quite a bit. So most of where the playground, you can see the image where the playground would be. So you have a tree that's right in that area. That is gonna be probably the last tree. You know, there is this, for lack of a better term, I know it's not supposed to be, but there is an area there where vehicles can go into the park. There's two posts that are set up there where you can, for setup purposes. And that's pretty much from that area down is where all the food's gonna be. And I'm just trying to go off memory here. There may or may not be a tree associated with that, but we have moved everything far away from as far as we possibly can, within reason, away from any of the trees. And to go back to your point about Main Street, the dumpsters, those two rollaway dumpsters, they will be parked close, not on the corner, but in a shorter distance to Cypress, which runs to Main Street. So they're gonna impact someone trying to make that corner or see that. People are gonna see that I can't take my car through a dumpster. I can only go in the other road. Now, we're gonna have some loading and unloading, and that's never to be, I don't know how we could get rid of that because we have to get it.
Every festival has that.
Yeah.
So you gotta have loading
And
and
we're taking special care to try and do everything that we can to avoid, causing anything in the park. Now, we do put up posts. We do put up the corrals.
That was
I mean, it has to be done because you have people where, if you're setting up a food booth, you want to have lanes that they can go in.
Okay, that is my concern. The tree roots are under the drip line of the trees. And I have seen in the last Cactus Festival, the post holes were dug with gas-powered augers. The tree roots are in the top 2 feet of the ground. So if there was a tree root there, the gas-powered auger was going right through it, nobody would even know. So my recommendation to the commission is that we not allow the digging of post holes. I'm sure that there's other ways to make lanes. Certainly not as many post holes as I've seen dug in the past. And I'm very concerned that you're not planning on doing any mulching, because that is recommended to prevent the root compaction that is caused when you drive heavy vehicles and you put picnic
Okay,
tables.
I'm gonna, I know that's a big concern of yours.
Yes.
But
I have one more question.
One more question, and then I need to, the commission, go ahead.
Okay, so this is to the commission. I'm not sure why the festival is asking to waive the noise ordinance. I've never seen a catfish festival where, I mean, if you waive the noise ordinance, if you play the music that loud, people won't be able to hear each other talk.
We're gonna have bands there and and I don't know what the noise decibel is from that band. I couldn't tell from the different bands. I couldn't speak on that. But it is amplified music coming out of the park. And then also we have a PA system set up. We're gonna have an announcer for the parade as the parade goes by. So, I don't know what that decibel level is. I would think that it's not gonna be anything that's gonna be overly offensive. I mean, it's just gonna be live music.
Well, then, okay, I live there, I experience this frequently. If the sound is done right, there's no reason to waive the noise ordinance because it would be too loud for people trying to enjoy themselves eating.
Well, I would respectively say that please waive the noise ordinance. Because I don't want to be in the middle of this festival and then have to be shut down. We're willing to work with the city in every way that we possibly can. We're just trying to bring the Catfish Festival back. We're willing to do everything that we possibly can to ensure that the park is there for quite some time and healthy. And, beyond that, I do have one other thing about the park, because I actually looked this up and I thought that you guys would find this interesting. Some of you people may know this, some may not. But there was a 1995 U.S. State Department of the Interior National Park Service report done, and it's the National Registry of Historic Places. So you can look this up online, it's page 8 of 17, and it actually lists Eveline Park. So of course, this is 1995. It says Eveline Park is the oldest surviving intact park in Crescent City. And there's a photo attached to it. The land in this park was donated to the city by Cornelia Lyon, a prominent winter resident, on November 16th, 1918. The park was named for Lyon's daughter, who apparently died at a young age. It was officially dedicated in 1922. So this is a thing to really consider, and became the center for outdoor social activities in Crescent City. I can't think of anything that's more of an outdoor social activity than a festival. So that being said, we're willing to work with the city and do everything that we possibly can to continue the festival's success in the future and the current one that we're planning.
Okay, I'm gonna, Casey, I'm gonna go back to that question, I'd like to ask a question. Yes, sir, Commissioner Banks.
Please, we might not get it just right the first time, but let's get a Rotary opportunity to try to set up. We got quite a ways out in front. We can't solve all the problems tonight. We got other business we need to attend. You've been very helpful. We got a good understanding. It ain't something new. We just started. We might have to critique it some.
Yes, sir.
But it's gonna come out.
Yeah.
We all gonna jump in and make it come out.
Yes, sir.
I ain't a member of the Rotary, but I'm part of it.
Well, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, I would like to entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we approve the special events permit for Catfish Festival 2024.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
We do, and my comment is, yes, that was a center of social activities, but it was a different day and time. You did not have amplified music at that time. For social events, people were not driving vehicles into the park, and they weren't doing things that damaged the trees. I am very disappointed that even though these issues have been brought to Rotary's attention for years, that no one has ever come by to talk to any of the neighbors. Is it fair to all concerned? I don't think it's that big deal to make sure that you keep the noise within limits that is not blasting the neighbors out of their houses. We have people living around this park. Part of Rotary's responsibility to the community is to everybody and is to everyone's safety. And I will remind you that there is death associated because of poor traffic management around the park. So I'm
gonna call for an order at this point.
Okay.
I'm calling, we're gonna take, we're done. We had the discussion, people's safety. No, don't put words in my mouth, Commissioner DeVito.
Why not?
Wait,
I'm sorry,
I know.
she's not been to any burger meetings in the last month when we've been planning this. She could have been there and she could have taken part in it.
That's right.
Okay, both of you.
We've all been working very hard on bringing something back that we like in Crescent City. And you just seem to stand in the way of everything.
I currently have no, we're done.
No, point of order, he has made a very personal remark. He has no idea what communications I have made with members of Rotary other than him, and I would like to apologize for that personal remark.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen you in the last 3 meetings.
Okay.
We've been planning.
At this point, now I gotta call a question.
I called the question. Let's take the vote.
So we currently have a proper motion in front of us. Rodney, you have taken and listened to her concerns so that we know that safety, of course, and I know you'll be working with Captain Usry and you'll be working also with Chief Highfield
Yes.
on this. So,
Yeah, and that's one thing. We will have an aid station there and we'll do whatever we can. We've been very fortunate that we've been a safe, venue for a very long time and we continue to make it that way.
Karen, will you do a roll call for us, please?
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito.
Aye. And I would like to say.
She's not done with the votes.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. Thank you, so moved.
And I would like to say one thing, I can't wait to move on for the Art Lovers City Stroll.
Thank you.
That's next.
And to all of you that have been, I will say this, I'm excited about what's happening between February with our Soul Food Festival and with the Catfish Festival. We're gonna have some outstanding food in Crescent City in the next couple of months. And so everybody, please partake. Thank you all for your assistance of, bringing this back.
And just a particular point, I have communicated my concerns with safety issues and environmental issues with Rotary prior years and this year. I have not been invited to any planning meetings. I have not once has anyone come to speak to any neighbors in planning this. I'm very disappointed.
I'm disappointed.
Well, I'm moving on. We're gonna move on at this point to our special event permit for the second annual Crescent City Art Stroll. And this is, I believe, is Christina here and Mary, who wants to take? This is gonna be our second annual art stroll, with the downtown partnership. Do you want to talk about it?
Mary, you want here anyway, so we'll.
Come on, Mary.
Mary Robbins, 508 North Lake Street, board member of partnership. And this is our second annual, art stroll. And, we're, have artists currently, painting, banners that are going to be hung on 15 light poles down Central. And this is going to be, the art stroll is going to be the reveal for that project. And we are requesting a alcohol permit. No, we're not. Okay, that's right. Okay, so we are going to be located on private property, so we don't need the alcohol permit permission for that. But we do need your permission, as people will be strolling down the street, looking at the banners and the artwork that's going to be set up.
So you'll need the open container consumption.
Yes.
We'll need to lay that, if that's what you're gonna need to do.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner, do we have any questions?
I would just like to clarify, the event itself will be held from Summit to Prospect. Artisans and vendors and food trucks will be lined on the the Central Ave perimeter of Market Square. The partnership's doing a fundraiser. They'll be selling alcohol on the private property as part of the whole event flow. So they're asking to just
again, waive that open container permit so that the patrons can stroll down Central and view the banners and the artisans that will be on display.
It's my understanding they will not be allowed to cross over with an open container across 17, correct?
Yes. And we'll
Yes,
have,
monitor,
we will have,
monitor like you did last year. Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I do. So there will be a monitor there, but should we, be specific in the blocks for which we are, waiving the open container?
I believe it says that.
Summit to Prospect is where the vendors and the artisans will be staged. However, the banners, there's 15 of them and there's more lamp posts in that area there. So they will likely stretch down Central past Prospect. The banners that are going on the light.
Okay, but what I'm saying is I don't see anything in it. I just have 2 pages. I have a drawing. Okay, what I'm saying is when you want us to waive the open container rule, correct?
Just for the period of the event, yes.
Okay, but for, Central Avenue from Summit, how far, I mean, what I'm saying is should we specify the length of Central?
Sure, if we could go to Park Street, I think that would be, perfect. Even though we're only gonna have vendors to Prospect, we do wanna encourage people to view the art that's hanging on the lamppost. That's the whole point.
Our last poll is at Park, is on Park Street, correct? But do we have one to pass out? I don't believe.
No, I think it just does go to Park.
I think when we were painting that's as far as we went. So it will be down to Park Street. Okay.
I mean, my main concern is that they not cross, that it's clearly prohibited to cross the highway.
Yeah.
I don't really care how far down they go. To me, I mean, would you like them to go to the water or are we worried about people falling in?
No, you don't want that.
So you just went from Summit to,
I would take it all the way down to the light.
To Lake.
if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because people will wander down to Three Bananas and wander down to there, so I think that, yes, okay. So commissioners, we like, and
I move that we approve the, art stroll, second stroll event. And allow,
okay, well,
I think we just need,
I was gonna,
You need to clarify.
to allow open containers from Summit to Park, or Summit to Lake Street on Central Avenue.
I'll second.
okay. So we have a proper motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion on this? Okay, the banners that are coming in are phenomenal. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is great. Thank you for all that you've done with this. Everyone, Karen, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Commissioner DeVita,
Aye.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton. All right. Mayor Myers.
Aye. Okay, so moved and approved.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. And with that, so we're gonna move on to our next one, and that's the results from the RFP that, the continuing grant writing services. We, have asked Charles to do this, and he has 5 that he's received. Went ahead and put this in the packet so that we have time to really look through them. I don't know if any of you have, but they vary in their pricing, their structuring, the projects that they've done. But he just wanted us to have an opportunity to look through those and, come up with any concerns or questions that we might have. And also the direction, so that when we bring this up in March, kind of the direction we decide that we want to go with this as far as grant writing, because you can see for the amount of money that some of them require, especially on a retainer. And it's the question of, do we put them on a retainer, or is it, do they actually look at what we need in the community and then they go look for that? Do we tell them? So so read through it. That's what he put it in here for, is for everyone just to read through it and have an opportunity to absorb it and, before this comes back before us.
Are we planning on having a workshop to discuss this? Because I think
We
that's.
probably will have a workshop. I would imagine that's gonna probably, I see that going in that direction, is a workshop.
Mayor, do you want to schedule a workshop tonight?
If that's the pleasure of the commission, if they want to schedule a workshop, we can.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. When Charles did the RFP, he made a list of areas that he wanted, a list of areas, subject areas. I have not had time this week, but it occurs to me that it might be helpful if we all looked at those lists of subject areas, because you just mentioned, how do we do this? Do we know what we want? Or do they look around the community? I think it's somewhat our responsibility to figure out where we want to look for grants. So I would ask if Charles could sign that RFP and look at the list of areas, so we can also discuss that.
Karen, would you make a note of that and have Charles send that back out to, or send it out to everyone at RFP? So do we want to go ahead and make it and schedule a workshop?
Well, except the city manager's not here. I mean, no offense, Mr. Mack, but obviously it's gotta be for.
You can do it also on the 19th, when you meet on the 19th. You can do it at that point in time.
I think that's a little workshop.
No, I didn't say do that.
Oh,
You can
schedule
it.
I think that's a great
You
idea.
can schedule it on the 19th, so
I'm
that.
sorry.
All of you have read through, so we're gonna move on from that. Everyone good with that? So all of you have had an opportunity to also read through the city manager's report.
So it's gonna be added to the 19th?
No,
No.
we'll discuss it on the 19th.
No, you're gonna discuss a date.
Okay.
Let's be clear. We're gonna discuss a date on the 19th.
I have that call over to.
Okay? Then I'm gonna go to, if nobody has any questions on the city manager report, I'm gonna go to, and you did see where the contract, I do wanna bring something up, and that's on this business recruitment and retention. He gave you a list of the businesses. I know there's been some concern back and forth. I think that was very telling. If you read through the businesses that have opened, those that are coming, those that have closed. One of them in the closed, he has copy, fax, print, and more. It actually moved, and he's got that up here where it had moved. Another thing on here, and we didn't do this, and we probably should, and I would, at March when he is here, possibly bring them in. Palaca Daily News, their Reader's Choice Awards. Our chief, Jason Highfield, he was recognized as in the first responder category, along with Matt Cope. He received honorable mention. We have Rose Delaney and Mike Tucker of Crescent City Junior Senior High School. Rose was chosen as for teacher, and honorable mention for school principal was Mike Tucker. So we want to give all of them, and also the Rotary was a winner along with other Rotary clubs in the county for their civic organization and the community support that they give. So accolades to everybody, and hopefully when Charles gets back and we can schedule it with Chief Highfield, that we can give him some accolades.
And one thing, Karen finished her master's in municipal clerk course, which we found out she'd be a certified municipal clerk, but she did complete her master's situation or a certification like 2 months ago, and I don't think we've given her the proper.
We haven't, thank you.
Thank
you for doing that, for bringing
Yeah,
that
she
forward.
really worked hard and to be to do it all on your own, and keep yourself active, my friends said. But
Thank you.
that was a lot. I'm very.
Self-discipline to do that.
Yes, thank you. Self-discipline.
It's called no life.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, so congratulations to you, Karen, as well. With that, we're gonna go to, City Attorney Pickens. Do you have anything for us at this time? And we haven't heard anything back from the Aquarian. That's still nothing back.
Yes, I guess I can report on that. She's been requesting, we went back and forth. She wanted to know what the damages were, the penalties were. Then she wanted to know when we hired the CPA firm to clean up what Aquarian did. And then actually today on my way here, she made a public records request for any contract that we signed with any other financial people from the date Aquarian quit or terminated the contract till now. So that's the most recent, but I haven't had, there's been no other demand or offer or anything like that.
Okay. And from the, also from, I meant to say this, is that this was part of our last agenda, was on the Xerox copier. We decided to go stay with Xerox at this time.
Oh, I have no idea about that. I was
Yes.
out the day.
No, we decided, we have to stay with Xerox because as we wrote, as we approved it, it was as long as there was no penalty. And they did say there would be a penalty, so we're staying with Xerox at this time. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to city commissioners. Do you have any business that you want to bring forward, Commissioner Burton?
No.
Commissioner Banks?
No.
Commissioner Lori? Commissioner DeVito?
I have a couple of items. First of all, Tuesday before this last one, I was in Tallahassee for the legislative days, and somewhere in this packet is a report.
I saw that.
of my activities.
Appreciate you representing us.
Thank you, and that's one day that I was not at Rotary, and I was not at Rotary the night
Okay.
before last because I was sick.
Okay, so.
No, I'm sorry.
I
Okay, I was the Tuesday before last. I was
I
there.
don't care.
I'm sorry, I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to the commission.
So please give us your report on your legislative visit.
Well, my report on the legislative visit is in the packet for anybody who wants to see it, but with commissioners from Palatka, Lake City, and Stark, League of Cities staff, North Florida League of Cities director. We visited officers of senators and representatives for Putnam and other counties in Northeast Florida to explain our concerns with several bills affecting local government, including our ad valorem tax revenue, which could potentially go down, and our expenses, which could potentially go up because of sovereign immunity, and restrictions on fees that are allowed to be charged by our city municipal utilities. I met with the chief legislative aide for Senator Hudson regarding our city legislative appropriation requests and received the status of some of them. Some of them made it, some of them didn't. Apparently, according to the staff I talked to, the fire station did not make
In
it.
the Senate side, on the Senate side, what about on the House side?
No, it's done, like the process. He said it did not make it on the House side. The main things that he found for us were the water projects. And it's very important in future years that when we put those requests in, particularly since Representative Payne isn't, he's turned out, there'll be a new representative, and there'll be a new senator, Senator Hudson's turned out, that we follow up with staff when we make those reports. I did meet with the legislative aide to Representative Payne, along with some Putnam County folks, and I also met individually with Representative Payne regarding a resolution in support of funding for Ride Solutions. I attended committee meeting with Ways and Means on Wednesday morning and put a card in opposition to House Bill 609. So, and I pay for my room and transportation myself. So that's what I did. Also, back on November 17th, the city applied for a tree grant from the Florida Department of Agriculture, which y'all have authorized the city to apply for tree grants. Charles and I worked on that. I did about 60% of the work. Charles did the professional part. I found out today that we did not get that grant. That Mr. Little with the Department of Agriculture said that it was a strong application, but he sent me the list of who got funded. It was mainly larger municipalities and counties and Florida State University. They didn't have enough money, and there was a lot of requests. So apparently, there is a very similar tree grant available with a due date of April 18th of this year. And it seems very much like the one that we submitted before. So if the city manager is willing, I don't know, I would like to apply for it again.
So you can bring that back and watch for approval.
If there's no match, I don't know what the issue is, and these grants are not easy to do. So I would like us to reapply because he said we had a strong grant, so hopefully.
Is it with the same, is it with,
USDA.
Florida, oh, it's
Yeah, sorry,
USDA.
no.
That one was with Florida Department of Agriculture. and Consumer
This one is also Florida Department of Agriculture.
Okay,
So, and it looks very similar, so I would like us.
so could you reissue the grant that you've already prepared?
I haven't had time to look at the specific requirements. But I think that what we did before could be used and improved on. I wanna ask Diane Kelly, can she help with tree grants? I'm not a grant writer. So is that something we would need to bring back for approval in March?
I would say you're gonna have to bring it back for approval.
Okay.
Unless we have a commissioner here that, wants to make a motion. Bobby, can they make a motion?
I think
Yeah,
that.
for that.
is fine, yeah.
So somebody wanna make a motion? That we go for the tree?
Yeah,
I would put the tree grant in, just automatically, you don't need a motion, I don't believe.
Well, she needs an approval because they're gonna have to reissue it, so I would say to err on the side of caution, that somebody makes a motion, and can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we go for the tree grant.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that they reapply in April with DAX. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, so approved. Is that it?
Adjourn.
Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn. I have a second?
No, let me see this.
Yes, sir.
Can we reimburse her for time going to Tallahassee? She don't want it?
No, she has money in her. She has money in her.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. The problem is, I'm signed up for so many trainings, that I think my money will be gone. But,
We've always in the past, you said there were commissioners.
well, actually, I would appreciate that sentiment, and, maybe we could discuss that when we look at how the expenditures are going.
I personally think that at some point, the commission needs to sit down and say that what they're giving us for training and stuff is not enough.
It's not.
And vote in a different number.
I've had, last year I paid for quite a bit of my,
Yeah,
and I paid for all my travel, so.
Oh, wait, one more thing. By the way, somebody circulated, so Karen circulated the YouTube video that shows what happened.
Because I sent it to her.
Okay, well, I highly encourage you folks, to look at the YouTube video, for the League of Cities at what went on in Tallahassee. It turned out that I'm narrating part of that.
Oh, good. Okay, I currently have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, so moved. Thank you all for sticking around.